Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a musician, so I run on, late hours is like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I much prefer like going to sleep at 2 a.m. waking up at 10 than whatever.
Have you always been that way? At 2 a.m.?
I feel like ever since I was a teenager, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to stay up late and watch Toonami.
What's that?
You don't know Toonami?
Toonami.
Or how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, see, I thought we were like around about the same age, right?
You're...
Okay. 33.
33.
So, which is so weird. I don't feel like I'm older than you. God.
Jesus died at 33, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought about that this my entire year, so I've been thinking about that.
You might die.
But
So you were born in what, 87?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's I was wondering because I remember you saying something about doing something in 2003, and you're like, I was 12 years old. I think or something you said. Right?
13 probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, wait, what? Because I don't know. I just assumed that you were older because I don't know. I guess you've been doing DZ Fest for so long and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you're like established. Whereas I feel like I came into the city and it was like, oh, this is a thing that exists.
Yeah,
don't know.
it's been going on for a bit, and since 2010 is when DZ Records started.
It's
so.
crazy.
It is. It's. I almost like the pandemic was awful and still is, but it's almost like something I needed. I was so tired and burnt out.
Yeah.
And I know you understand that better than honestly anybody else I probably have ever met.
I feel like you and I have a similar thing that we do, or at least I don't know if you still do it as much, but yeah, with the DZ Records thing.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, it's boom, 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 like every week, every few days, it's just got to release something new all the time, and it's like new people coming in, recording, it's get it just like, and then like, I got burnt out. I did.
Have you always been that way? Like busy, like being able to orchestrate things and bring them together and execute them and plan them and want to keep doing it and building that up? Or is that something that just started happening?
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I just like I always had like a sort of a grand vision for like how I was gonna make it happen, and then it's like I don't know, it just didn't necessarily play out the way that I expected, and like in the sense that like I guess it's like I remember when you talked to Doug and he was talking about how sometimes you should say no because otherwise you get pigeonholed into something that you didn't necessarily want to.
Yeah.
And so I'm the kind of guy that was just like yes until I just was like, oh man, actually I don't like necessarily like where I'm at right now. Like
Yeah.
with the like with the Young Camelot recordings or like VCR recordings, like the stuff that I was doing right before the pandemic was like I just didn't feel like it was representative of like where I wanted to be, like because it was all using this old gear. It had been beat up at all these DIY shows. Like I was missing like channels and stuff, and it was like all this noise on all the tracks. I had to spend all this time like importing the tracks and removing the noise and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the end result still wasn't very good sounding. So I feel like, yeah, the pandemic helped me to sort of reestablish, like take a break, buy some new gear, like save up some money, buy some new gear, kind of go at it again, sounding more like I want to sound instead of just like what I can use,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When did you first start recording music? Because you've been recording forever.
Yeah. It's an interesting story about that, and I feel like everybody who's recorded probably has heard it. But basically, I started as a drummer,
Yeah.
Which another thing that I think Doug Malone is right about. Like you got to be a drummer first if you want to be a recording person. I mean, or if you're gonna be recording people, you should learn what drums are about.
Oh yeah.
But so I was in this band called Circles Within Circles, which we were like, I don't know, kind of like slow metal, like Neurosis or like ISIS, the band, not the terrorist group. And we went and recorded with some guy. I was in Columbus at the time, and
Ohio.
Yeah, Columbus, Ohio.
That's where you're from.
Yeah. Up until like 2013, that's when I moved to Chicago. Well, I lived in Athens, Ohio too for a while. But anyway, this was back in Columbus. And so, this guy had like all this, like I'll go in there, it's his basement. He's got all these like, this fancy gear in my mind. He's got like monitors, he's got like software, he's got this thing that like the faders move, he doesn't even touch it. And like
Yeah.
I didn't know anything, but I thought, oh, he's got mics. This is probably gonna sound amazing, And of course, drums do sound pretty crappy when they're just raw, it's like cardboard boxes flip-flopping around,
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, this is not very impressive, but whatever. And he says it's gonna be good, and then he just like dropped off the face of the planet. We didn't finish the record. He like recorded some guitar stuff and some bass stuff, but then just never got finished. And I was like, okay. So when we go to record with another guy, sort of same situation. We do it in his living room. He's telling me like, oh yeah, put mics in the stairs because it's like what John Bonham did and whatever, you know. And I'm like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And once again, we get like drums and like guitar done, and then he just disappears. Like, I don't know what it is with Columbus sound engineers circa like 2008 or whatever, but like, so then my friend who was going to Ohio University at the time, he hit me up out of the blue. He needed to record a band for like a project, and I was like, okay, I have a solo record that, you know, I've just been working on because I'm like tired of, I don't know, I'm just what I'm doing right now. And so he comes up and like I have the whole thing mapped out. It's like 80 minutes of music, and I like play the whole thing for him, start to finish, on piano. And he's just like, dude, this is gonna be crazy. Like if we do this, it's gonna take like a year. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And if we're doing it, then I want you to tell me everything. Like I want to know what you're doing because I'm tired of like just being like, this guy knows what he's doing, and then I lose it, you know? It just disappears into the ether. So that's what I was just like, I want to know how to do this so that I can do it and make sure that like I'm not wasting my own time.
Yeah. So it kind of came out of necessity.
Frustration, maybe.
Frustration,
yeah.
necessity, inquisitive mind of just kind of wanting to know how something works.
Yeah. Oh, you know, definitely. You want, you know. I feel like the more, like you probably started out just doing what? I don't know. Playing music?
Yeah, started just playing guitar, playing bass, playing in bands, breaking gear, buying gear, and just curious, just a 4-track cassette player from Guitar Center when I was 16.
Back in the day, yeah.
And yeah, just went from there. So about 15 years of the recording evolution, but yeah, just curious, again, a very curious mind like yourself, and then being a musician, just kind of putting them together, and also wanting to have that like control because I didn't have the money to pay someone to do it.
Right.
And I like to experiment and make sounds because even when I was playing guitar, I was making weird sounds with these amps anyway. So why not make weird sounds with amps and microphones and placement and acoustics and beating up stuff?
Yeah, once you start recording, it's like it opens a whole new box of like whatever you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's essentially what it was. Like I had been listening to all this music, and you know, like I remember it was the Beatles. It really was like I started researching all this stuff like when I was like 13 about like how the Beatles did this, and it was like, oh, they play the tape backwards, like whoa, you know. And so I was of course always interested in that sort of thing, you know, and but it wasn't really until like I had the experience of recording.
Just checking on that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Is he looking good?
Yeah, I'm used to being able to see the computer.
Oh yeah,
so I'm just making sure it's
You're
all
doing
good,
mobile here, yeah.
We're all good. Sorry, keep going. Wait, let's both do this. All right, we're back.
But yeah, so it was just being frustrated by the other people letting me down. And I was like, okay, you know. And the cool thing was my buddy, Dave Frush, Dave, you everything. He was really cool about that, and he like showed me like, here's how a compressor works. Here's what I'm doing. Like it's funny because like, yeah, it was basically like he gave me all the files after we would record, and I'd go through and like automate my vocal like up and down like every single point, and he would be like, dude, you don't have to do that. Like, what are you doing? He's like, just use a compressor. And I was like, what's that? I don't know. He was really cool about like just showing me everything that he was learning in school basically, without me actually having to go to school at all. So yeah.
So you were just all self-taught and experienced.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, because I basically was living in Columbus. He was living in Athens, where Ohio University is, and I would just commute down there for like a weekend. And the way we did it was like we would like they had a certain number of hours you could book if you're a student, and so we would book like an entire like weekend early in the year when no one else was using it because they all like just people didn't book time. It was like the students just didn't do it unless they had a project, and no one had a project early in the year, so we just would use the time book a session, and as soon as like an hour before like the session started, we would cancel the hour, and then as it went through like another hour, we would cancel like 10 minutes before the next hour, so we'd get the hour back. And so we just continually do that like every weekend, So anybody who ever wanted to go in the studio would be like, why are these guys booked in here? Like, how many hours do they have? But we were just taking our hours back. Yeah, because their software or whatever, their system didn't know that you could do that.
You found a good hack.
So we gave ourselves infinite studio time, basically.
At Ohio University.
Yeah.
They had an audio program there?
Yeah. I mean, they had a really nice studio with like a Neve board.
Oh, wow.
And like...
That's awesome.
All this.
So you have free reign over it.
Yeah.
And was anybody else there, or was it just your friend and you going over that
I mean,
stuff?
sometimes you'd have other people come in, hang out, or like and record tracks. Like on that first album I did, there's like, I mean, basically any stringed instrument, because I didn't know how to play guitar or mandolin or banjo or anything like that. So anytime I needed anything like that, I would have like a friend come in. Mostly my friend Caleb, who played all of those things, and the poor guy had to like play stand-up bass, and like that was like hundreds of takes. It was like really rough because his poor hands got shredded.
So you got your hands dirty there, and what, 20 years old at this point?
Yeah, about. I mean, I was like 22.
22.
Yeah.
Were you going? Did you go to school anywhere, or did you just?
No, so I went to Ohio State for 1 year for English because I guess sort of like Ness said, like, oh, words. I don't know. I'm good at that.
Yeah.
But like, I sort of very quickly realized that like. I didn't want to go into debt to basically take what seemed like glorified high school courses, and like
okay.
I was like, I don't really know what am I gonna do when I get out of here. Like I had a lot of older friends while I was kind of like in high school, who all went through the system, and kind of like I saw as they were going through it, like how like they were like, I don't know, like what is this? And so like I even had friends who like went to music school, and they were like, dude, do not go to music school, like do not go to college for music, like it is a scam. And so I was like, well, that's all I really want to do. Like, all I want to do is play drums like all the time. And, but I was good. Yeah. Like English. But so I decided to drop out and go to the real world that they kept telling me about, and, so once I was out there, I mean, it was like, I ended up going to get an associate's degree at a little sort of small college near Athens, pretty much so I could kind of go to Athens more often than not, but also so that I could have like a degree I could like lean on.
Yeah.
But it was in just like alternative energy and fuel cells.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was the future, It seemed like that was what we would do. But,
I mean, it's going there slowly.
That was, yeah, okay, this was like 10, 11 years ago,
Very
like,
slow.
Really dragging our feet here, yeah. So, I mean, I didn't want to commit too much time or money or get into debt. That was the main thing. I didn't want to be in debt because I just wanted to like not have to be tied down to anywhere doing any specific thing, more than, was necessary. So that's sort of been the overarching thing about my sort of what I've been figuring out is like, how can I just do what I want to do without having to like commit too much to anything, which is like maybe not a great way to go through your life. But
have you always been like that?
Maybe, I don't know. You ask me these questions like, have I always been this way? It's like, I guess.
It's a funny question to ask. Have you always been this way? Because you don't really know because it's you and you just live, you exist. So you're like, I guess someone who knows you really well would be able to answer that better.
Or if if I was like, yes, I was like my, like, I mean, like if I was one of those people who went to school totally committed to like going through it and then like, something changed and I was like, yeah, I've decided to change my life or whatever. But no, I mean, like my background growing up is pretty weird because like my dad is immigrant from Burma, and my mom grew up Mennonite, like which is basically like Amish light. Mm-hmm. And so both of those cultures are very like conservative and like sort of like traditional, I mean, extremely traditional in the case of Mennonite. I mean,
where did you grow up, Mennonite?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was going to say Pennsylvania.
The heart of
they're always
Amish
Mennonite
country.
If you're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So like, she broke out of it like because she wanted to go to college. You're not allowed to do that, So and then my dad, he's got the Asian mindset, the Asian grind set, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Got to be a doctor, or if you're not a doctor, an engineer.
A lawyer, engineer, doctor.
Well, actually, they don't really like lawyers because I think it's kind of like,
dirty.
you're just getting money out of like people and stuff. You're
Yeah,
scammy.
yeah,
It's actually Chinese don't really think that like being a lawyer is a good profession. It's like engineer, doctor. I don't know.
It is always engineer, doctor, isn't it?
It's pretty much it. Yeah.
Dude, have you ever talked to your dad about like where that comes from or where he got?
Oh yeah,
that
of course.
mindset?
Well, because I mean, when he was growing up, his dad was very sick. His dad actually died before he could move to the country with them all, and so he was like, he saw his mom struggling really hard to raise the family, and so he was like, I gotta. When I get to America, I'm gonna make sure that like I'm not poor ever again, and I don't have to see like anyone struggle in my family.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. Which I mean, it's I always like say that I did grow up very privileged in the sense that my dad made a lot of sacrifices for us. He worked a lot to make sure that we had those kind of like an easy life compared to like living in Burma.
Yeah. What did he do for a living?
He's a radiologist, so he's a doctor, you know.
Yeah.
Like he's you know, he's still like will sleep at the hospital and stuff. Like he's crazy about work.
Did you
Yeah.
not see him a lot growing up then?
No, yeah, like not at all. So I was basically raised by my mom, and so like you know, her being kind of like, well, I left the church, you know, like this crazy conservative church that I was at, because I wanted to pursue free thought. You know, has sort of been more like the, I guess, influence that I've had. Even though she's never really been like, yeah, music is good. Like I'm totally non-musical family. Like that's one thing. Didn't grow up listening to any music. Like I didn't hear Led Zeppelin until I was like 12, and I was like, who's this woman singing stuff? Like, what is
Who's
this?
this unique female voice?
Yeah, like I really had no idea anything about like pop culture rock music like at all. It was kind of weird, but you know, so you know, it's just for me, it's always been like I just knew basically when I was growing up, I was like, well, I like really am into music, and no one else around me in this family is, and they will not understand this. You know, they were really cool about like, you know, when I bought a drum set, at like my dad helped me buy a drum set, which was surprising. But he was just like, well, you know, I mean, as long as you're gonna practice, like that's discipline. And I was like, all right. And you know, they put up with just hearing that cacophony for years. You know, God bless them.
How old were you when you got that?
I mean, I was 12 when I had not like a real drum set. I was like one of those like weird little kid drum sets. It wasn't until like I basically was doing lessons seriously, and like I had a drum teacher that basically kicked me up from him. He was like, I don't have anything else to teach you, kid. Like you should go take lessons from this other guy. They were like, oh, you should, I guess this is serious then, you know. And that was like when I was like 14.
Okay.
That was when I got like the drum set I still have actually downstairs. Funny enough.
The one that's set up?
Yeah.
That's from when you were 14?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I
cool.
love that drum set. I mean, it's
You brought it everywhere with you.
yeah, it's got a history, you know.
That's awesome.
I've never had a reason to buy a bigger, fancier drum set. You know, it's
What kind of it? What kind
it's
is
a
it?
it's a Tama Rockstar.
Okay.
So,
Classic.
yeah, you know, it's like whatever. I love when like I tell that to dudes like and like shows or something. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, man, like that's such a great kid." Blah blah blah. I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have, I mean,
It's a
fine.
Tama Rockstar.
It's fine.
From 17 years ago. Like, I'm fully aware of what it is.
It's not. It hasn't cracked or like chipped or anything.
Yeah.
Like you know, it's held together. It sounds good. Holds its tune really good. So.
And you
Yeah.
did you start playing? You played bass guitar?
No, I mean,
Just
I
drums?
just started playing drums, yeah, and that was like the first thing, cause like, you know, obviously my dad was like, you should play violin or you know, play
Yeah.
piano, like, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
My sister took piano lessons, and so we had a piano at the house, but like, and I would play on it a lot, but I just didn't want to ever like learn how to play like Mozart or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
It just seemed really dumb to me, so I would just play my own stuff on there as like a kid, and just be like, yeah, this is cool. And,
So
you know.
so no one in your family played music, and you just had this inkling to play drums. You just wanted.
Yeah. I mean, well, so I think you know, I think when you're in a family that's like very, I don't know, sort of like conservative like that, very like traditional. Like, there's not very many outlets for like emotion. You know?
Yeah.
It's all very like, well, let's not talk about that because that makes us uncomfortable. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that like it just all got channeled into like hitting shit with sticks.
Yeah.
I think honestly was what it was. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it just was like, I guess Neil Peart, listening to him, like a friend of mine in like middle school was like, you should check out this drum solo, and I was like, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like, it was amazing to me that one dude could play for like 8 minutes and it sounded like a whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and like
No,
I was like, I want to do that.
Was a ridiculously talented drummer.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, crazy.
yeah, I mean, at the time, I guess I just thought, oh, this is what drumming is, you know. I mean, but like, of course, there's a lot of different kinds of ways to play drums and do things, and that's just one of them.
Yeah.
But it was for whatever reason, like, really pulled me in, and I just was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I don't know, I was really against taking music lessons or anything, but like once I realized, like, oh, I don't know anything about what I'm doing on this instrument, like,
Yeah.
I need to sound like that. And I mean, it was funny because even like the very first day, I feel like when I took a lesson, it was like, show me what you do. And I was like, yeah, like, look at me, man. I like know how to play this stuff. And he was just like, okay, we're going to just start from the snare drum. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You're just going to, here's a click track at like 30 BPM. And we're going to go right,
That slow, huh?
left, right. I don't know. It was like super slow, you know? It's just,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, bro, didn't you see how awesome I am? What are you talking about? You know, it's like 12-year-old logic or whatever. You know?
Yeah. That's really funny. So how long did you do lessons for?
Up until I was 18, right? Until I went to college.
Okay.
Because then, I was majoring in English or whatever, and it's not in music. But I did take like, music, like some of the jazz band classes and stuff, and that was fun. But like, it wasn't like I needed to at that point. I didn't feel like I wanted to take lessons so much as like just play with other people and just like, meet new people and play things and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the main drive at that point. I mean, Paul Richards, he was the guy he taught me everything, and he was like an old jazz cat from like New York City in the 70s. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, I was really lucked out considering I lived in this like kind of crappy town outside of Columbus, like that. He just happened to have been from like Manhattan, like in the height of like some of the best like post bop fusion days,
Yeah. So he taught you for
Yeah.
for a couple of years?
Yeah, for like 4 years.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you've just taken that with you think? You've held on to that?
To this day, although, I mean, I still sometimes will pull a drummer aside if like, really, I'll give them a bunch of compliments. Obviously, I'm not a dick. But if I notice that they're doing one of these, I'll tell them, hey, you should play like this. Because otherwise you get tendonitis doing this. Like if you're hitting like this, it's stretching out this tendon right here over and over again. And that's how I ended up with tendonitis, because I didn't listen to my drum teacher. But if you play like this is like knocking on a door. Like this is a much larger tendon that you got going on here.
Okay.
So he would always correct me when I would just start playing the wrong way.
That makes sense.
Because you kind of want to like, especially on a ride, you want to do this.
Yeah.
But like that's just all this stress right here. You want to do this, which doesn't feel as natural.
But you get used to it.
Yeah, and you get way more stick control too, because then you got all these fingers right underneath there doing that.
It's funny you say that, because I've noticed when drummers come in that are clearly more trained in jazz trained, they always play like that.
Right, yeah.
I've seen it a million times, and the ones that aren't are just doing like, it's the same thing with guitar, when someone's doing a chord with just these two fingers and they completely neglect these two, and they just never use their pinky. The pinky might as well be cut off.
Yeah.
And I feel like saying like, you got to use all of them, and when you can, use all 5 fingers, use everything.
Right.
You'll get so much better, so much faster, and you'll have just more dexterity and ability to stretch if you use everything, and it adds up.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing on piano too. Like I feel like doing chords, like you can do way better chords if you do the right fingers versus like, I don't know, just the way I like finger chords on piano is all messed up because I just did it for so many years. I never took lessons, but then I see other people do it. I'm like, oh, that makes way more sense.
But I'm gonna keep doing it my way.
I mean, if I wanted to, I couldn't, because it's just like in the moment you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with playing drums. Like in the moment, like you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, you're rocking.
And then
out.
afterwards, you're like, I was dumb.
Yeah. How many instruments do you play?
I mean, I like to say that I'm a drummer. I can play piano. I should say, well, I'm a drummer. I play piano and I can play guitar.
Got it. I like that. I would say I'm a guitar player. I play bass, and I can play. I can kind of play a couple other things.
Yeah, right.
Barely enough. It's weird. I have such an understanding of drums from working with them and recording them so much, and I can like keep beats and play very simplistic things.
Yeah.
But like it ends there. And I have a drum kit just sits there, and I'm like, every day I'm like, I need to just start playing drums more.
Right. Yeah.
And I just. Because I'm like, I'm trying to focus on other things, and keys too. There's so many synths in the bass. I'm like, I need to start playing these things more.
I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Like the other day, I was practicing bass from a few times. Because there's a bass here for a change. I want to buy a bass myself, but I haven't, and we don't normally have a bass here. But there is one here right now. So I was just dicking around on it, and I was thinking to myself like, oh my god, we've got like 3 like guitar amps, like a bass amp. I've got a drum set and like a bunch of keyboards. There's an actual piano right there. I was like, there's no reason why I'm not very good at this bass. It's because I keep playing these other things. Like I can't be good at everything. I've even got a trumpet I bought, and I want to play trumpet, but like, there's just not enough time on earth. Especially when you have to like make money.
I know, right? Who wants to do that? And then you make money to buy this gear, and then you're like, I barely use it.
I know. That is the eternal dilemma too. That
It sucks. Guilt. I know. I feel guilty. I'm sitting there looking at my studio. I'm like, I should record more. I have everything I'll ever need to do this.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it all the time for other people, you get kind of drained. You
totally.
Just do. You get a little bogged down, and you're like, I need to take a break. It's like even playing shows. It's like you put on so many shows. Like I don't even know if I feel like playing one. Like all I do is put these things on. I just want to like just not do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like you and me understand this kind of thing because, yeah, you record people all the time and you host shows and you're in bands. Well, I guess maybe not as much now.
I'm currently in 3.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Okay.
No.
Never mind then.
But like, as you know, it's like, how active can you be when you can't really play shows?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
we're in bands. We just practice. Like, we practice Monday and Tuesdays.
2 times a week?
Yeah.
That's impressive for any band. I'm sorry. That just is.
Well, we do one Monday for one band, and then
Uh-huh.
2 bands on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we do
okay.
Lithia on Monday, then THR Neighbors You Know on Tuesday. And yeah, it's exhausting when you do it with everything else, but it's fun. It got us through the pandemic for sure because they were part of my roommates in Bubble.
Yeah, yeah.
So we just went ham on writing
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
There's nothing else to do, and we got a lot done. But now that everything's coming back, I'm like, oh no, I don't know if we're going to keep doing 3 bands.
Yeah, I know.
It's gonna
I
be
know.
hard.
I've been hit up by like, a few people would be like, let's schedule some shows. And I'm like, oh man, we haven't like written stuff in a long time, and I don't know. Like,
How many bands do you play in?
I'm in Beastie and Blood Hype. Blood Hype is the one that I've been.
But
I
Hype's
was doing,
cool. I was listening to that recently.
What, Blood Hype? Oh, sweet.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Did you record all that?
Not all of it, because some of it was recorded by either Colin or Maureen. So
yeah.
it's like kind of weird. Like 3 of us can all record. There was one song on like our first like full length where each part like was recorded by each individual member. So it was like this long distance kind of weird thing. But yeah, it just we at least were able to like record and release stuff and during the pandemic. But like Beastie, not so much. And then kind of trying to sort of put together another band with some other people, but I don't know. I didn't want to be in too many bands anymore because I wanted, like you were saying, like I see all this stuff. I bought some new gear over the pandemic, and I've been wanting to like write my own stuff and like maybe get a band together on my own songs. Because that's what I did, like back in the day. It's kind of the reason I got into recording.
Yeah.
And like it just took over. Like other people's stuff has just taken over, which I love recording other people. I mean, I shared a lot of the same thoughts that Doug had when he was on here, about just like how much it's like rewarding to talk to people and like share like ideas about their music and like flesh it out and like turn these abstract concepts into like actual sounds. But I mean, I do just want to sometimes make my own stuff, and there's just not that much time to do that when you're hosting shows, recording people, playing in bands. It's just, yeah.
And working and doing other things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that like now it's, I mean, I've this whole pandemic having this job that is like a full-time non-music related job. I mean, it's given me a lot of money, but it's like, yeah, it's like that's a whole big drain of time. That's just like crazy to me that other people can even arrange anything around that. Like, I'm not used to that. I'm used to like having too many bands to be a functional like adult that can have like a 40-hour-a-week job. But like, so now that's just thrown in there sometimes too, and it's like, okay, just like, I don't know.
Well, now you know why when a lot of people get those jobs, they stop doing.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a job like that, and like marriage, and a mortgage, and kids, like
Yeah.
say goodbye.
Yeah, I know.
Like maybe you could swing practice once a month with your friends, if your wife lets you.
Yeah. Right.
If you don't feel bad about your like not being
yeah,
around for
yeah,
your kids, like there's so many
being
factors.
absent dad, yeah, like
It's like, really, you're gonna go do that right now? Like you didn't even see your kids this week,
yeah.
and you're just gonna like go play music. It's there's nothing wrong with it, but it's a factor. It's like something to take into consideration
Yeah.
if you're going to do that. If you're not going to do that, that's okay, and then you do the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent so much of my life, basically. I mean, I moved to Chicago with like dirt in my pockets, like no money.
What made you come here out of all the places?
I mean, I have a few friends that have moved here. It's just a natural progression from the Midwest area.
Yeah, it is.
It's where you
It's
go.
the next biggest. It's
Yeah.
the biggest city in the Midwest.
Yeah, so I mean, and every time I've ever come to Chicago, I'd always thought like, oh, these are like cool people, but it's like a really cool city. Instead of like, I've never been to LA really, which is like I've been there once now, but like it's not like I really hung out that long.
Yeah.
And every time I've been to New York, like when I would tour like from Ohio and I would tour around, I'd sometimes go to like New York and I'd be like, man, these people all kind of suck.
What makes you say that?
Well, like, I mean, they'd be like, yeah, we'll go to your show totally, but then there's like 100 other shows and they would never come.
It's
and like,
oversaturated, would you say?
just totally like
It's just so much.
Yeah, it's like impossible to like make any like impact anywhere, unless you like, I guess like are there in that ecosystem, a lot of people and stuff, like. But like, it's certainly not a place where I feel like I'd want to go and just like, I don't know, especially like considering I had no, I mean, it wasn't like I was working a solar power job, like I was just this guy who had like randomly started recording people and had no credentials to do it. It was just a dude who was doing music. Like what am I gonna do? Move to New York and be like, hey, I got music to sell. Anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone need music?
You're not wrong. It's hard. It's really funny you bring that up because as of recently, I will be going here and there back and forth to New York and to Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And I'm reaching out to bands to do sessions and doing them on location. And it's going to be very interesting. And I can already tell the difference.
Oh yeah.
Even funny enough, their Facebook like New York DIY page, which is significantly smaller for whatever reason, like a sixth the people, members, which is weird, but because it's such a big city, I couldn't understand their layout of their pages. It was very strange.
What do you mean?
Like there isn't just like a New York City DIY.
Oh yeah.
Like a Chicago
I've noticed
DIY.
that too. Yeah, it's like weird. They have all these different subgroups.
Yeah,
of
too many
subgroups.
sub ones, and the one that is the New York DIY, it's like 4,000. I'm like, really? There's like 10 million people here. It's like triple Chicago, quadruple Chicago, and just 4,000.
Yeah.
I was like this, but I mean, I reached out to it, and a few people reached out, but nothing like here. If I post something on DIY Chicago, it's ridiculous. Some people will reach back out to you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's completely different.
Yeah, it's not, people aren't as like into it to like for the sort of like the fame and the glory of it. There's a lot of people who are just literally interested in like putting stuff out and like I don't know, seeing where it goes.
It isn't that kind of city. It's not the LA and New York. There's way more saturated, way more competition. You go to those cities to make it in music, in modeling, in fashion, in film, in acting. Whereas Chicago is like, it has all those things. It really does. But it's way more of like an arts and college, like so many colleges and universities here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just different. It's like a middle ground that's big and it has those industries, but it's not quite as intense.
It's weird because I feel like a lot of people just see it as a springboard, which kind of is a bummer. Because then if you live in Chicago and you work on music, you'll see an artist come up through the pipeline and maybe you'll work with them on something and then they just go right off to somewhere else and you're like, oh, okay.
LA and New York.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
LA, New York, maybe like Nashville or Austin or something. Portland happens a lot too.
Yeah.
It is like, that's a good way to put it. It is like a springboard.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I just would not want to live in New York City. I just wouldn't want to live in LA. I can't say anything for Portland. Never been there.
I'll let you know how it goes. I'll let you know how New York goes. I'll text you about it when I'm there next week. I'll be like, Chris, I think you're right.
All these people are like, they show up in like frills and I don't know.
They won't. No one wants to talk to me.
$100 haircuts judging you. I mean, like,
it's so funny. Every musician, artist, creative mind I've spoken with about New York, on and off the podcast, says no one has anything nice to say. Like, nobody.
Yeah.
Which is hysterical. I have no idea. I'm under the guise of it's corny, but it's like I just won't judge a book by its cover. I have to like immerse myself in it, and then I'll know.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like you visit. It's so easy to not like a place if you just visit it. First of all, the first thing you do for the first week or two is weight against where you came from. Be like, oh, this isn't like Chicago. Their grid system is not as good. The streets are not as, they don't, it's nonsensical. There's too many curves. It's too old. They came up with this 400 years ago. We learned a lot since then. And then you have the boroughs and the bridges and the traffic and there's just so many factors. You have too many people on Manhattan for how many square miles it is.
Yeah, that's true. That is not incorrect. That's true.
It's a completely different beast, and I mean I'm excited for just to try it and see what happens, and just kind of go back and forth and grow the music there, and kind of infiltrate their scene and see what it's about, try to understand it. I know a handful of bands from there, so there's a starting point, but it's definitely daunting. I mean, Chicago's daunting enough, and then you quadruple it,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we're used to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You've immersed yourself so heavily that it's like
in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, but
like you skip.
I still feel like there's so many like I'm all the time like just like finding new people and new artists and stuff.
I'm like, who is that? When
crazy.
They come about?
I mean, it's overwhelming. I can't even I couldn't even imagine trying to like to wrangle that beast in New York City, you know?
Yeah, I feel it already. I'm just like, whoa, this is. But I'm like excited. Like that type of situation just pushes me. It just drives me to like, well,
Yeah.
I guess I have to try to figure out a way to overcome this. It's obstacles I see as opportunities.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I mean, we were talking about being kind of burnt out and stuff earlier. I mean, yeah, honestly, maybe that's like the kind of thing you need to like feel like, a bit, like the post-pandemic bloom.
Yeah. well, until we have this Delta variant that. Who knows what that's. It's,
No, I know. But we'll see how that plays out. I don't want to date this too much by like talking about that.
I know. I don't either. You're right. Let's not talk about COVID. We have heard enough about COVID and politics.
Yeah.
And the news and the presidency.
And speculation and upon speculation about when things are going to open and when they aren't and whatever. And I'm just at this point, like I'm working events again, I'm doing live sound again, and it feels good because I like, at least I'm not like just staring and going to the same place every single day. Oh, you're looking for the cat?
There's a cat scratching behind me.
Oh yeah. What's up, Lilith?
Does the cat bite or anything?
No.
Come on, cat. Come hang out.
That's
with me.
Lilith. She's very, very timid. I'll be surprised if she doesn't just run away as soon as you touch her.
Does she care if I pick her up?
No, she's super chill. She'll probably run away though.
Hi.
I gave you food. I don't know why you're bothering anybody. It's okay. Yeah, she's super chill. There she goes.
There she
I
goes.
told you she's
It lasted a little while.
very timid. Yeah, not a very friendly cat.
So you started doing live sound again.
Yeah, and I'm just saying it's just nice. Even if it's like wedding gigs, like you were saying, weddings are weird. Yes, it's true.
They are weird. They're kind of funny. Like there's always something goofy that happens. Just
yeah.
And the wedding planners, intense.
Yeah.
They don't mess around.
They are on 7:04 on the dot. You must play this song.
I'm gonna have so much clipping on this podcast.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm always so loud.
When I asked you to speak earlier, you're just like talking.
Well, it's because I listened to some more chill people they're not as animated as me.
It's the irony of two audio engineers, and there's gonna be so much clipping. It's gonna be great. People are like, wait a minute, how do these guys not know?
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is Izotope Rx.
Good to know.
D-Clipper. I'm not endorsed by Izotope. That thing has saved me so much. When I do this, like, because I'm doing these, basement show recordings, and like, yeah, you're talking about people who go from being like, this song is going to be like, and it's just like, no.
When they put their mouth on the microphone.
Yeah. No one, you cannot catch that like on the meters, because then as soon as you turn it down, that's when they go back to mumble mode. And just
Dynamics is a really difficult thing with singers. It's something that I wish they thought about more, from being away from the microphone like this.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's where some of these wedding bands that I work with, they're like a lot more experienced and trained, and it's like funny because you can just see how they like know these things, and like they project,
They
and
don't
then,
cup it,
Yeah.
and create an omnipresent or omnidirectional microphone and give you a bunch of feedback.
Yeah,
There's so many things that go on
working with professionals. I mean, I don't know how you do it at DZ Fest, because you have these bands come up, boom, 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 boom.
It's rough.
By like day 2, like 10 p.m., you'd be like, yeah, whatever. Just feedback to see that you don't get any monitors. Sorry.
It's extremely exhausting. It's a type of exhaustion like I don't miss it. I'll tell you that. But it's a type of pain I've never felt before. Just because you're done and burnt before you even have it.
Yeah.
Because it took weeks to set up. So you're in the hot sun and you're just fried, and then you have to do 2 days of 40 bands.
Yeah.
40 artists selling artwork, all the volunteers. It's nuts.
Yeah.
The weather. It's nuts. It's nuts. I always downplay. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's not bad. Just to like convince everyone it's okay to come and do it. And in my mind, I'm like,
out.
this is insane.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm sure. I mean, I just worked a festival. It was 4 days, and like, but it was only 2 bands per day, so that's not
interesting.
too bad,
Wait,
4 days, 2 bands per day. Yeah, because it would be from like, 5 to 7:30, and then from 8 to like 11 or something.
Okay.
Like really long 2
sets.
double sets and stuff. Yeah.
Where was this?
Lincolnwood.
Okay.
It's just like weird little neighborhood festival thing, but but yeah, I mean, by Sunday I was just like, oh my god, it's so hot. I'm so tired of hearing noises.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine if it was like bam, 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 bands.
It's a great community and great team of people. That's what makes it work. It's always that because it's a really intense thing. It's a very difficult thing. And honestly, it was never that smooth. It took years. It took a decade of doing it to be like, all right, now we know how to do it. Now we know how to even just communicating to the bands, like letting them know, like, you have to play a 30-minute set.
Yeah.
There is a band before you and after. You have to use the house gear. You can only pretty much demanding it, but also providing really good gear. So they're like, oh, they're not going to say no or be mad anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I personally don't care if I don't have to bring a drum set because that's great for me.
most drummers, as you've experienced, are like, yes. And when they're not, we know what kind of person that is.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to talk about it. Because I know, you're like, really?
That's the kind of drummer that won't let you use their kick drum beater. You know, they'll be like, "No, it's made of velour, and the spring was custom designed.
It's made out of ivory and bamboo and Brazilian rosewood. Just all these things you can't have." Like, what? That's really funny. I'm glad that I'm with someone who shares that pain.
Yeah,
because you had. When you first got here, what was the first place you started doing DIY shows, and how did you get into that? Why,
Well, I don't know. I guess it's been long enough, because I feel like for a while there I was just reiterating the history of Young Camelot, like every couple of weeks, because it would be like somebody from somewhere asking. But
yeah.
So I moved here in 2013, summer, and didn't know anybody, really. I knew a couple of people, but they all kind of were like doing their own thing, and I didn't want to be like, "Hey, buddy, can I just glom onto your life into this big city?" And like they were doing their own thing, and they were polite enough about like letting me hang out at parties or whatever with them.
Yeah.
I feel like, but it wasn't like whatever. So I just happened to talk to somebody at a party who told me that there was this guy named Honey Hole Johnson.
I know him.
Who played blues, because I had mentioned that I had toured with a blues band. And he was looking for a drummer, and I was like, okay. And so I go over to this place to meet this illustrious Honey Hole Johnson, and I noticed that they are tearing down the wall in the middle of the living room so they can make the room bigger so they can throw shows. And there's a room off to the side. I noticed was like a console, like a recording console, and like a bunch of gear. And I was like, what's going on over there, guys?
Yeah.
I used to run a studio back in Ohio, And they're like, oh, yeah, we're thinking about like recording shows here. And I was just like, oh, this is like 3 months into moving to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's like talking about like serendipity, right?
Yeah.
And I helped them configure like how to run the snake, what channels to pin where, and like how to like set up the mics for the shows and stuff. And then the whole idea at that time was to record shows live to cassette tape, and then dupe the cassettes like during the show. It was kind of a harebrained scheme.
That sounds difficult.
It was really kind of silly.
And this is 2013?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the first shows I went to there, I think it was in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been in like the fall, winter. There was one, I went there maybe like 5 times, 2013, 14. I remember seeing you off to the side in that
in that little dinky room. Yeah.
Running back and forth.
Yeah, it was really funny because like I wasn't in the main room where the show was happening.
Yeah.
It was very weird. I was just sitting there with headphones on, listening to the show happening next door.
But did you like it though? Being able to like hide and just work and like.
I mean, it was nice because I could hear like, okay, that's what the bass is doing. Okay, that's what the guitar, instead of like being in the same room.
Yeah.
But it was definitely weird in the sense that like I was just secondhand experiencing the excitement of the show.
Yeah, that's a strange experience.
Yeah, it was very weird.
I remember being there and having to leave. I think police came or they were outside and everyone had to leave. Did it happen before?
Oh, wow. That was like the one time I think that happened at Young Camelot back when I was on Milwaukee, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, we in hindsight, it was such a short period of time. It was like 8 months or something we did that. Not very long at all.
Really?
Before we got kicked out. And then we went to the church, the much bigger, like huge space. We really went balls to the wall with scaling it up.
How long were you there for? Because I've been to that one too.
Yeah, that one was 2 years.
Okay.
And then after that was when I was like, okay, I don't want to go that big anymore ever again. But I do want to still keep doing this. So the VCR is kind of a nice happy medium. Like we can do events where like, we can get like maybe 100 people in here, like with 50 on like the first floor. Like some of you have like art vendors or something, or like something like that, a gallery exhibition, and then we have like 50 in the basement for like music and stuff.
Was there anything in between Young Camelot and VCR?
Well, I mean, I never lived at Young Camelot originally. I mean, the people always thought I did, but I didn't. So I
I was just there all the time.
yeah, it was just where I was on the weekends. And I slept there a lot, but because I mean, yeah, but I don't want to digress too far. But I ran this place studio sort of thing called the Foam Palace.
Yeah.
And that was like where I lived. That was like my actual home, and that was a bunch of stuff that got recorded there and done there. And that was, I guess, sort of kind of between, because when Young Camelot got shut down, it was like a year and a half, I think, of just when I just lived at Foam Palace, and people would constantly be like, "You should have shows." I'm like, "No, this house is like 110 years old and like tiny. Like I can't do shows." There's one exit out of the basement, and it's like a rickety like staircase that's going to collapse at any minute. Like I'm not doing shows here.
And you did sessions there too.
Yeah, I did a lot of
sessions.
sessions.
Sessions from there.
It was cool, yeah. Like VAM did a lot of videotaping us there, and Hannah Welliver had she shot some cool stuff that ended up on like, oh my god, I can't remember. It was some decently popular website that people would remember, but I don't want to say like Vice because it wasn't Vice, but it was some like caliber. I don't know. But I'm terrible at promoting old things.
Yeah, right. No, you don't need. Yeah, don't worry about it. That's funny though. I mean, So you've been doing a DIY-esque like venue or space for 8 years, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, pretty much continuously up until the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I took a nice hiatus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what inspired VCR? Like the name, location, the concept.
Location, we just happened to be looking for commercial spaces because that was what the second Young Camelot was. So it seemed like, you get a bigger space, and then if you can like somehow pay the rent. Here we kind of have built like 2 illegal bedrooms, but they're offices. What did I say? What did I say? I meant to say offices.
Don't worry about it.
With beds in them because we work here so late, we get tired.
You sound like... No, I've only ever heard that in a few industries, and this is not a tech industry where they sleep at their spots.
Exactly, yeah. We're one of those. We're a startup. You might say we're a startup.
You know what? It's funny you say that because the person that I'm going to be going back and forth to New York with, the first time in my life, after doing this for 11 years, when I was talking about DZ Fest, she was like, you sound like you have a startup. And I'm just like, what? I was like, it blew my mind to hear. I was like, she's like, everything you're saying, it just sounds like you have your own startup. I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
I would invest in DZ Coin. I'm just saying.
You heard that, Jeff Bezos? Are you back from space yet? Can you? If you are, can you help me out? Oh, God, that'd be the weirdest dilemma.
The weirdest pitch you ever do.
To someone of that wealth to like offer you money for something that you love and cultivated yourself forever. That'd be a really like...
Yeah.
The devil, man.
I talked to the Bandcamp CEO one time. Which
Really?
was really weird. Yeah, I got invited to this thing that was hosted by Bandcamp at the Hideout. And I was like, I want to talk to the CEO of Bandcamp. I don't know. I really, this is like dead set on doing it.
Yeah.
And funny enough, he had an opening like in the middle of a conversation. I just slid in there and I talked to him for 40 minutes. And it was just so funny, like showing him the band, like the Young Camelot VCR Bandcamp, because he just kept scrolling on it. He was like, "This is kind of nuts." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
And you let me host all this illegal stuff for free.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Did you tell him that?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he was like, "Well, I love the DIY scene, and he like mentioned that like he knew people in the Ghost Ship Fire and stuff.
Oh.
Not to get like suddenly like, but so he had a very personal connection to the DIY scene, and he was like, I mean, it makes sense that a guy who gives all this stuff for free would be totally down with the DIY scene,
You're not wrong. It's something you and I should probably do, huh? Find a way to make something like that happen. Because it's been like, I hear it all the time. If it isn't free, I'm just told that like I undercharge. So no matter what, I'm always like, I'm either doing things for free or I'm undercharging.
No, I know.
It's been very few times where, and it's usually it's their situation where like they literally don't have any money, so they're like, oh, it's too much money. It's not that it's too much money. It's $100. It's just when you don't have anything, $100 is too much money.
Yeah.
But it's been the dilemma I've always faced. I don't know how to get beyond that because of being so involved in it, knowing everything about it, being the musician, sleeping on the couches, having the artist here, having shows, having fests. I know it too well to feel like I'm like taking something from someone. They're trying to express themselves, and I just want to like facilitate that, you know, in any way I can.
Yeah, I know. And you and Doug, I keep going back to that because it's like the episode I listened to the entire 3 hours. So.
Oh, nice.
Well, Doug is like, I mean, I feel like he's someone that I've talked to a lot.
Yeah.
You know, just shows and stuff. He's run sound for my bands and stuff. And I used to host a thing at the L. He always ran sound, so we'd chat there and stuff. So I was really interested to hear his thoughts, especially, you know, I even recorded Minball back in the day. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, him talking about how he's like making money off of his friends, and I was like, I definitely feel that. Like, it's rough, you know. Like you were saying, well, you do, you know, your friends make money off of you too.
Yeah.
So it is a symbiosis that way. But it's like I always do feel like it's hard. The hardest thing for me is being like, so how much?
Yeah.
can you?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to rationalize like this gear costs money.
Right.
This is time. I am an adult. Sometimes that's the problem. Like you're like, I don't feel 30. It's like I don't feel 31 because I feel like a kid all the time.
Yeah.
I forget to like do adult things. Hey, cat.
I don't know what she's trying to do right now. I think she's trying to climb up onto that shelf, but failing.
to do adult things like have a job, have a business, like charge money for your time and effort, knowledge, experience, and gear.
Yeah, right.
And it's like a weird thing. When you do it slowly over time, you don't. For those listening and are like, I don't get it, just charge money. It's like most people graduate high school, maybe they go to college, and then they go into a job that someone else created at some point.
Yeah.
And it's just given to them. The paychecks are there, everything is there. You don't understand what it's like to like truly just start something that isn't supposed to be a job, a DIY experience, a venue, an event, a festival. And then it like turns into one slowly over a very long time. It's a very rare situation people are not in.
At what point do you just cross the line of like, oh, it's just my friends that I'm doing something a favor for, to like, this is a business and I need to ask you up front, like for $400.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very strange thing that most people don't understand. So when they give me their unsolicited advice, I go, you don't understand like at all what this is like or what it's about, or even the mentality behind it, the true DIY mentality of like, I'm going to tear down a wall to make it bigger. Most people hire contractors to do that. It's like, nah, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, right.
I've never hired a hand person in my life to do anything. I don't know what that's like.
Right, you build those stages every year, right? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, I built these walls. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I really like sort of doing the live sound gigs, because it's like, okay, you need someone to run sound for a wedding? Like, boom, here's a price. That's, you know, and it's either you take it or leave it, and it's easy, you know?
Yeah, it is easy. And they're always okay with it, too.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if it's like, I have a vision for an album, and like, it's like, okay, is this going to take like a week? Or like 2 months? Is this going to take a year? I have no idea, because I don't want to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to do exactly 40 hours of this, and that's going to be your artistic vision. Like,
yeah, it's tricky.
You know?
It's tricky to put it in a box when someone gives you a vague concept. Like, I want to do 12 songs. There's 5 of us in the band. We want to track everything individual. And you're like, oh, God, this could take 6 months.
Right.
Like, if I calculate this right, you're not going to like the price I even come up with. And I'm probably still going to undersell it. So, like, I don't know what to do. Like, that's why I kind of gotten to, like, let's just do live recordings. Because I know how long that takes.
Exactly.
It takes as long as it takes to get through a song. How long are your songs? Okay. I can
know
tell
how
you
long
the
it's going
price
to take
right
to
now.
set up for the number of people in the band,
Yeah.
too.
When someone's like, our songs are 5 minutes, there's 4 of us. I'm like, boom, I already could tell you exactly what that'll be. But when someone's like, I don't know, I want to do this, and that, and then have someone come in, I'm like, oh no, I don't know. It's hard. It's super hard to gauge.
Yeah, I mean, I've even had, you know, things where we were re-recorded, like almost basically from scratch on a song, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, so I was listening to it, and let's just start from the acoustic guitar. And you're like, okay. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I mean, because sometimes it just doesn't work, and you got to just start over. But like, I'd hate to like be like, no, we can't do that because you can only pay for.
Yeah, it takes a certain mentality to be like a businessman. I'm not a businessman.
All right.
Like I didn't go to business school or study marketing or advertising or anything in that world. I'm glad I didn't, but I don't associate with that type of mentality. And it is what it is. I'll probably never be rich because of that.
Yeah,
but, like,
right,
I'm
yeah.
certainly happy. So
This is exactly why I think New York's going to eat you up.
yeah. Well, I'm going to eat it in New York
because
because I have a large appetite, and I gotta figure out this whole pizza and Chicago pizza and New York pizza dilemma. Because everyone from New York, this is my problem with it. Everyone from New York goes, New York's pizza the best. Everyone from Chicago goes, Chicago pizza is the best. And I've had both. I've had Chicago pizza a lot, and New York pizza enough. I've been there twice, and I'm like, they're both really good for completely different reasons. Like it's New York City, and they're known for pizza. Of course, it's going to be good. Like it will be good. And Chicago is Chicago, and it's known for pizza. It will be good. But to play this weird competition thing, it's like, what are we doing? It's delicious pizza with chefs who know what they're doing from Italy, or their uncle was, or their grandfather was.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And these ingredients are authentic. And like, I don't understand what we're doing here. They're both going to be good.
See, as a neutral party from Columbus, I feel like I'm just like, yeah, it's both. It's good. I like them both.
Is that people talk in Columbus? If they do, you lost that accent. I like them both. Have you had New York pizza?
Yeah, of course.
You like
the
it?
floppy. It's
See, you're not even from Chicago and you're already doing it. Because everyone I know from New York is like, it's the best. It's the best. I'm just like, I know what you're doing right now. You're being that New York.
It's utilitarian. I feel like you can eat it on the go. I feel like I don't. I mean, I don't know.
What about hot dogs? What about their hot dog?
As a once again, I feel like the whole like don't put ketchup on hot dogs thing. I mean, hot dog's a tube of like mystery meat anyway.
You put ketchup on hot dogs?
I did in Columbus, and you know what? I'm not gonna say on camera whether I did or do or not. Now.
You know that you will be brought out back and shot.
When I host cookouts here, I don't put ketchup out there. I don't do it.
That's so funny.
If it's just me, the Lord above,
the devil below.
I might, I do have a lot of tomatoes grown out there. I'm just saying.
That's so funny. That's really funny. I haven't had I don't know if I might have had ketchup on a hot dog when I was a child. It's been a long time. That's so funny though. I love the pizza dilemma. Like I never have found someone that agrees with me. I'm like, they're both good for different reasons. Everyone's like, no. I
mean, you put enough red pepper flakes on anything, it's fine.
You're drunk enough in the village,
right.
Anything's good.
Oh, I've eaten some horrendous pizza that at the time was like manna from heaven,
Yeah. I mean, not everything in Chicago is amazing. You have your classic like bocce's, which we all know what that is. It's it's a $5 thin pizza that's been sitting out for God knows how long.
We call that extra crispy. Okay?
Yeah. And then they throw it back in the oven to reheat it, and it's like extra crispy because it's like reheated again.
Yeah.
Which I love that flavor. That's nostalgic. It's very nostalgic to like the one on Chicago and Western. And then there was that pizza across the street from that pizza place. What was that called? The Village Pizza?
Yeah.
Right? I was in there once, like 2009 with two friends. And I kid you not, this Italian guy comes in, like a purplish suit. He looked like he was out of like Dick Tracy. And he is just yelling. This was a mob ordeal because he's just yelling at the cook behind the counter. It's like 2 a.m. about money, about how he owes him money. And I swear, it was terrifying.
What?
Yeah, I was like, "Why are we in a movie right now? Like, where's Martin Scorsese?"
Well, that's how I know this pizza's good.
Yeah, this pizza must be really good. Hey, this cat wants my tomato.
Yeah, I know. She always knocks them off the table.
But yeah, that type of pizza, it's like, you're usually young and drunk or high, and it's amazing.
Well, see, here's the thing. Not to keep. I don't know if this is too much of a digression about pizza, but. Everybody's like, oh, the real Chicago pizza is tavern cut. Well, that's what I grew up eating. You know, like
deep dish is like that's a tourist thing. It's not what most people eat. I have deep dish once a year, maybe when a friend's in town and they're like, let's get pizza. I'm like, all right, we'll go to Uno's or Due's or never Giordano's and or like Illuminati's. I don't know, something.
Yeah,
like
it seems like it's a touristy thing, and so I guess I grew up on real Chicago pizza too, because I don't know if you know about Donato's.
I do not.
Okay, it's a chain out of Columbus.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I thought it was like a national chain like Pizza Hut and Domino's, because it's like it was everywhere. But Donato's is like thin crust, all the way toppings to the edge, like no actual holdable crust, square cut and everything. Yeah.
It was good though, or was it?
They're known. Their whole thing was like their big, I don't know, advertising thing was it's like 100 pepperonis. Like it was just like, oh god.
You can't see anything but pepperoni.
Yeah, it's just like those little cups of like grease, just like piled on top of each other. It's
pepperoni.
Like,
all right, what's your favorite toppings for pizza?
I'm a mushroom guy.
Mushroom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, people do that obviously, but it's not like as common when people say like, "What's your favorite topping?"
Yeah, I don't know. I just think there's not very many uses for mushrooms except for on pizza. So it's like, yeah, if I'm gonna get
Well,
pizza.
there's a couple uses.
Hey, I wasn't sure we were gonna go into that on this podcast or not. But,
I mean, we can. I'm a big advocate for mushrooms.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just got some. I'm excited for
nice.
the next time. I don't know when. It's always like you wait for like the right moment.
That's the thing that I've noticed growing up is you gotta wait for the right time.
Yeah.
To put it on pizza. No, no, but
that would be
hard.
Wild. Would it cooking it take
yeah,
out?
it would probably kill everything.
Probably
Which is why I don't know how like tea works. I feel like that's sort of like burning it off a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I mean, we could. I feel like so many of my conversations devolve into drugs.
I'm always intrigued by it because I never really done a lot of drugs, just marijuana and mushrooms.
Yeah, I remember you were talking to somebody about stimulants. Was that Ness?
Possibly. I bring up drugs often, just
okay.
out of curiosity.
Yeah, well, you were like talking about how you didn't like stimulants, though.
Yeah, no, I've never done like cocaine or methamphetamines or anything
That's
like
crazy
that.
to me.
Why?
I don't know. I spent like almost a decade of my life just like still a lot of stimulants. I mean, how do you think I was so productive?
That's the problem. I don't need them. I'm like,
yeah, there you go.
It's whatever part of the brain involves the chemistry that needs to be stimulated. I think I'm okay there because it's already too much.
Yeah.
So Adderall, cocaine, anything with an amphetamine, like I don't need it at all. I have no issues with being productive or staying awake.
I'm sort of jealous. I'm honestly jealous of people in general who are just more functional than I am, I guess, in a way. Because yeah, I feel like I mean I don't drink coffee. I mean now I've managed to get away from all of that. It was a long process to wean myself back into being like I don't know, ground base.
Was it something
person.
Like prescribed or just stuff?
No, it was just I mean it was
pills.
It started from doing a lot of actually it was an MDMA analog called methadone, which was really big back in like 2011. I was basically going through really tough time and drinking a lot, and somebody introduced me to methadone, which was originally like used therapeutically, like the same way MDMA was back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I found that it was like it all of a sudden like made me reconnect with people a lot, and maybe I just have like a shortage of serotonin or something. I don't know, but I felt all of a sudden like just like reconnect with people, really invigorated with like the idea of like doing things with other people in like life. Whereas like just prior to that, I'd been like sort of this swirling tempest of like negative thoughts and
it could be low serotonin.
Maybe I mean it was definitely depression for sure.
Yeah.
But it pulled me out of that, and so I was. I got really into doing that, and sort of got into selling it and being just distributing it to a lot of my friends and stuff. And then the government, of course, clamped down on that and made that illegal because it was close to MDMA and people were enjoying it, which we can't have that. So then, sort of trying to go through the analogs that were similar. I mean, this is back, people were talking about bath salts, but that was sort of like the dumb media narrative about these sort of analogs, where people were selling them as bath salts because it was trying to get around federal law regulating, the drugs that were banned, right? So these were drugs that were banned, but they were like changed slightly so they could get around the law. But the whole thing was you just had to say they were not for human consumption. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the bath salts thing came in, because people would sell them as bath salts at like gas stations and shit. But the whole main thing was that they were just these experimental chemicals, and so one of the ones that I really glommed onto that I found really helpful and recreational and therapeutic in a way was called pentadrone, and so I gave that to that sort of became a thing that me and a lot of my friends did, and
what was it called?
Pentadrone.
I haven't heard of either of these, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean they're not very cool names, I mean I think pentadrone's a really cool name, but. Whatever.
There's pills or
no, I mean it would come as powder. I would get it
Okay.
from labs like around the world and stuff. And
You just
Hey, see,
contact the lab.
hey, statute of limitations is 7 years. Okay.
Is it?
Yes.
In
So
this state?
federally.
Federally for drugs or
Yeah. For talking for anything that's like distribution, selling it, whatever. So
so if you talk about
I can talk all I want about this shit now.
So what about like doing them? Is there even
Yeah, I mean, there's not even a law against doing drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no law against doing drugs. Like if like I was, no, once again, end round again, digression. But I did too many mushrooms one time, and I got arrested on High Street in Columbus. And
while you were on mushrooms,
while I was on a lot of mushrooms.
How many?
I did a quarter.
Oh my god!
That's a lot. I know.
You got arrested while on a quarter?
Yeah, I don't
That sounds
remember.
like a
I don't
really
remember.
bad experience.
I don't remember really just bits and pieces of it. But my girlfriend at the time had just come down, so she was like able. I was like peeking, so I had like no idea what was going on. But I like fought off like 7 police officers.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I remember being strapped to like a board and being taken away by the police in a paddy wagon.
Oh,
There's some content for you, kids.
How did that turn out?
Well, so I woke up in the hospital the next day with 2 like up every orifice of my body except my ears, I guess, and realized that you got to respect mushrooms.
Yeah, you
It's
do.
a very hard lesson learned.
I've never gone beyond an eighth, and that's experience.
Yeah, so I was just getting really reckless with them. I was just doing them like every weekend, like
Wow.
all the time. Really, I mean, I don't know. I was just like, yeah, I like to do drugs. It came beyond, like they've always kind of been a part of my personality, I guess, which is kind of why it's weird for me now to be mostly completely like drug free, aside from like drinking occasionally and smoking some weed every now and then. But the path of so basically like the path of me was doing a lot of psychedelics, then going through some rough patches, and then getting pulled out of that by doing a lot of MDMA, and then progressing on to a lot of amphetamine analogs until, basically then having to quit doing that because I was just realizing like it was like not good for my health in general.
No, there's no longevity in that.
No,
There isn't.
It's really bad.
And
Yeah.
people don't realize it because guess when they're doing them? When you're youthful, when you're in your 20s. So you're
Right.
like, I'm fine, I'm good. It's like, it's because you're 25.
Right.
Like everyone's good at 25. Like,
Yeah.
of course you're fine. Of course you can handle it. Of course you can stay up to 4 a.m. Wait until you're 35 and 45, and you cannot keep doing that.
Yeah, and like you see, like I mean, when you sell substances, you like run into dudes who are like, or people in general that are 40 and still addicted or whatever, still trying to do drugs, and it's like, oh man, like that. I don't want to.
They probably don't look too well.
I don't want to be that guy.
No.
Or and then just like I've lost a lot of people on the way too from drug use, and
Absolutely.
so
many unnecessary deaths,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I encourage everyone to do psilocybin, but very cautiously, responsibly, and preferably in the presence of someone else who's at least able to look after you a little bit.
Who's done it enough. Like I've done it so many times that now when I do it with somebody that hasn't, I feel naturally like responsible, and also like it's not as crazy anymore. I'm full. It's like the first time you get high versus like the 100th time. The first time you smoke weed like out of a bong, you're like, oh, what just like I'm gone. I'm literally gone. And now you're like, I'm pretty high. Like that's it.
Yeah,
you're fully
yeah.
aware that the bricks aren't moving. Like you're okay. Whereas on mushrooms, your first
It's never
time,
gonna end.
your first time,
The
on
cops are at
mushrooms
the door.
is your everything is just gone. Time doesn't exist. Space, it's all gone. And you're at 15th time, you're like, yeah, time's gone, but I know what that means, and I know that I don't know what 4 hours is right now, but I know that in 4 hours I'll be fine. Like it's a
Right.
different,
Yeah.
completely different position in your mind that you can be in. So
Yeah, I mean, as a person who used to sell a lot of psychedelics, and I've had to be a lot of people's trip sitter, and yeah, I mean, it's like having to just be like remind people like, hey, it's going to end. Like this isn't like permanent. Just calm down.
yeah, it is beautiful,
Yeah.
and it will end.
Yeah. Because it's like people get in this childlike state where it's just like, oh, everything is great, but also like, oh god, it's scary.
Oh God, I gotta face my childhood. That's a big one. You face your childhood, and so many people are terrified of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you stopped doing all these drugs a couple years ago, or?
I mean, I haven't completely stopped doing psychedelics. I mean, obviously, I think they're very healthy.
I do
like I
too.
said, once again, just do it. Not in heroic doses to try and prove to I don't know, no one.
No, nothing. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted to find my limit, and I did in a really bad way.
Did you get in a lot of trouble for that?
Thankfully, no, because like I said, that was the whole reason I started the story. It's not illegal to be on drugs unless you're like, public intoxication, I guess. But that's like you're doing something like crazy. I mean, I was running into traffic, yes, granted, but
Unless you're doing something crazy like running in the traffic.
but no, they didn't charge me with anything because I didn't have anything on me.
Even like fighting police officers, they didn't.
No, I guess thankfully, resisting arrest. No, they didn't give me anything. Which is why I respect the hell out of anybody who tries to bring up the fact that, like, if you're a black person, like, if you just even like don't immediately stop and like whatever, do exactly what the police say, like you deserve to be shot or whatever, like, or I should say, I don't respect that opinion. But I mean, because like, what if someone's on a quarter ounce of mushrooms? Like, they might be completely off their rocker and not just like a danger necessarily. They're just somebody who doesn't understand verbal commands at that moment.
Doesn't understand what language is at that moment.
Right, yeah. And so, I think about that a lot. Like, what if I had been like a black man or something? Like, maybe I wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, and it was weird because I also had happened to forget to opt out of my insurance, even though I had dropped out of college by that point. So my college's insurance covered it, even though I wasn't a student there. So medical costs, like they ran a bunch of like tests on me because I guess they thought I was like, I don't know, the first victim of like some weird, I don't know, Iranian bioweapon or something. I don't know. But they ran like all these tests on me. CAT scan, blood test, lumbar puncture. They charged me $27,000. Yeah. America's healthcare system.
And that was taken care of?
And they just, it was like $100. And no charges. Yeah. And
you got real lucky on so many levels.
That's when I was like, I think I'm going to take a break on mushrooms for a while.
Wow, that is a wild story. I've never heard a mushroom story quite like that.
I know, right?
Mine have been very chill and not crazy. I mean, crazy, but not like that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I had to find the limit, and I did. And thankfully, didn't pay too much of a price for it,
Yeah, well, it probably changed your life, like, afterwards,
Yeah.
Like, never do those things again.
But I feel like, no, it wasn't so much don't do those things again, but have respect for them. And I tried to teach other people that same respect. As a person who was with other people who are doing things, it's like by telling them that story, I hope they can understand it, even that you can pay some really hefty, like, prices for it if you don't know what you're getting into and stuff, because it's, like, easy to be like, well, I did, like, 3 tabs, last weekend, so I'm going to take, like, 10 tabs this time. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't mean each tab is the same. Like,
that's the hardest thing about those types of drugs. That's why we do need them regulated and legal.
Yeah, I mean, mushrooms can vary in strength a lot, too. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, you can always eat more, but you can't untake drugs. So be very careful.
Yeah, don't go into it lightly. Absolutely. I've done an eighth, and it was 8 hours in one weird world, and I've done an eighth, and it was 3 hours. Like, it's all over the place, and that's the problem with it. That's why it should be, it could be a lot more safer if people, a.k.a. the FDA and the government, regulated it and made it legal.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be such a problem. You wouldn't have all these weird things happening all the time. We do it with alcohol and cigarettes and marijuana, well, in some states. And it's a lot safer because of it. Alcohol is not as dangerous as it was in 1926.
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to get blinded by that bathtub gin, Ben.
Or people that have had weird stories that are rare, but they happen to, like, I don't know, I smoked marijuana, something weird happened because it was laced with codeine or Vicodin crunched up in or something.
Yeah.
You don't get that when you go to Windy City Cannabis, and it's sealed.
Absolutely. And, I mean, as someone who's lost a really good friend to an opioid overdose, I mean, people are always really hesitant and they fight back against those sort of harm reduction techniques like, oh, if we started giving paramedics Narcan, that's just to encourage users to, like, push their doses higher. Or, like, we can't have needle exchanges because that's just, like, encouraging heroin use or whatever. Like, no, like, these things are going to happen regardless of those steps being taken. It's just the amount of, like, harm that's going to happen to these people. That's why it's called harm reduction, Like, you give people safe injection sites. Give them, if we honestly did regulate, like, all drugs, I think maybe there might be a slight uptick in use. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think there would be.
Yeah, right?
I really don't.
I think if you want to drink, you're going to drink. It's not like because alcohol. I mean, maybe because alcohol is legal, more people drink than would otherwise. Sure, but I mean, like, would that reduce the amount of fights caused by alcohol? Like, I think if you're the kind of person that's going to drink to the point where you start fighting people, you're probably the kind of person that would buy alcohol on the like black market. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And anybody who fights when they get drunk, they have other issues they need to figure out.
It's true. Yeah.
You always know who that person is. And you're like, why? Like, we're literally just trying to hang out.
Yeah.
And like, it's a barbecue. Like, why are you fighting right now? It's 5:00 on a Sunday. Like, why are you want to fight right now?
Yeah.
That person needs anger management. You know, that person needs to talk to a therapist.
Well, yeah.
I hate when people blame it on alcohol. Like, I can't drink whiskey. It makes you want to fight. It's like, no, your childhood damage makes you want to fight.
Right, yeah.
Not the whiskey. Trust me.
That's when you slip them a half-eighth in their potato salad so they can confront that childhood.
It's every time someone says that, I'm like, of course. I know you so well. I know your history. That makes perfect sense why you get angry. Like, don't blame it on the alcohol. Like, plenty of people drink it and they're not aggressive. They're not mad. They're fine. So there's something else going on. And it's the same thing with psilocybin. Anybody that's like, I had a bad trip. I'm like, no, you just needed to face something and you faced it and you were scared of it. And you maybe next time don't be afraid of it and like take it head on, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. It kind of reminds me of you talking about difficult conversations with, I think it was Ness. Once again, you just released her episode today, so I listened to it, of course.
I appreciate that, by the way.
But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like a difficult conversation, but with yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, which is even more of like another level of like, I don't want to do this, you know? And I mean, if you're the kind of person that just leaves passive aggressive notes on the fridge of your brain to yourself, then yeah, I don't know. You might need to, unpack that a little bit. I don't know.
Do you know someone who's done that?
What? I mean, it's the roommate thing, isn't it? That leaving the passive aggressive note in the fridge. I'm talking about metaphorically.
Oh, okay.
If you're having a difficult conversation, so maybe that was too complex.
I've done the passive aggressive note. I think once or twice because I've had like 20 roommates over the last 6 years. So it seems like that's never a good idea. That does not work out well. I don't recommend it.
No, don't do that.
Actually, I think I did it once. I don't even know if I did it. I was a part of it. And I was like, bad idea. Don't do that ever again. Just talk to the person.
Yeah, it just makes everybody angry, you know?
It just pisses everybody off. And now you're like, now I'm mad and everyone is. When I could have just been mad with one person. and then we actually would have been not mad after 10 minutes of like, yeah, you're right. It's what that note, like the metaphorical note on the fridge, is exactly the issue with the internet. It's like you're not just talking.
I love how you just tied this into the internet. That's great. Yeah.
Like if you just talk to someone and they made a mistake, you'd be like, oh, and you just talk about it, like 99 times out of 100, you could leave that conversation peacefully in 5-10 minutes, and everyone's like, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. But when you just jab and have your little avatar you hide behind, it's not good.
Well, that's exactly why, I mean, people lump all social media together, but I actually find that I hate Twitter a lot more than any other social media
site. I don't
site.
use it. I stay away from it.
Yeah,
I've never heard anything good about it.
I just maybe use it every now and then to like just make some, I don't know, just shoot some stupid thought out into the air that like I was tempted to. Wow, well, that's okay.
Hi, kitty.
That I might have been tempted to say otherwise in some other fashion.
Yeah.
But
Twitter's a rough one. I never heard anything good about it.
Yeah, right. It's
I post on Twitter. I gotta leave it.
It's just an outrage machine because it's like it is literally just Post-it notes. It's about the exact length of a Post-it note that you're allowed to leave there. And so it's just yeah. I mean, there's no nuance. There's no depth of exchange.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's why you're stupid. No, here's why you're stupid. Here's why you're stupid. And like nothing gets.
Here's why we're all stupid. We're doing this right now on this forum and making someone else a billionaire. We're all really stupid.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we're all creating free content for some jackal who wants to go to space. You know.
Yeah. Facebook is a strange place.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I've like found my own weird use for Facebook. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, but you have like, did you have like your own sense of like? I mean, you have like your own responsibility being like this a mentor on DIY Chicago. Like
I hate to think that I'm anybody's mentor.
Maybe mentor is the wrong word, but facilitator.
Okay, I can agree with that. Okay, sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I don't know what you call it.
I'd like to think that that's what I am.
I'd say so, definitely.
I guess.
How many people on that page have your role or that type of role?
Well, so after the whole, I don't know if you saw the whole thing that happened in DIY Chicago when the pandemic started and I got my full-time job and I wasn't able to like monitor the website all the time. But like, there was a whole big backlash against me because I didn't delete somebody's comment because I didn't see it because I was at work. And so, you know, it's like, we want to talk about like toxic comments.
Cat trying to get a fly.
Oh my God. But like, you know, it was just like insane. It was like 2 days straight of just like people just posting like, Chris Lee is a you know, like enabler of horrible things. He's a stupid white IT guy or whatever. It was just like, I just didn't read it, you know,
Jesus.
but like, yeah, it was crazy.
Oh,
and
no.
so, but like, I recognized that like I didn't have the time to devote to maintaining that board anymore, or whatever, that group. So I brought in, I had people elect 4 other admins because, you know, then it's a round number, so you can't have any ties decision making wise. So 5 people, you know.
Yeah.
And I trusted the wisdom of the crowd. You know, I was like, okay, I'll let people be. You know, I like democracy.
Yeah.
You know.
So before it was just you.
Yeah.
20,000 people.
Well, because I mean, it started originally was like, I mean, not originally. I mean, I started doing it because someone else made me an admin after the other admins were doing nothing about curbing some of the toxic stuff that was on there.
When was that?
That was like 2015.
It was a lot smaller
16?
then, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 10,000 people.
Okay.
Still pretty big.
Yeah.
Maybe like 8,000 or something. But it was, you know, it was a lot of bro-ish stuff. And so anytime like a woman would post anything, it was like, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's just like horrible shit.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you suck. And so somebody made me the admin and kicked all those other admins out, and then also appointed 4 other people as admins. But it's just really toxic, like just people in general on the internet, and especially when you're a woman. So the other 3 of the other admins were women, and they all were like, this is like, I'm getting crazy DMs and like dealing with like, you know, rape accusations and stuff, and like it just became like too much for them to handle.
Yeah.
And so they all quit over time, just generally just dropping off one after the other. Oh, I should say actually no, 2 of the admins were non-binary, 2 were women. It's like, you know, 1 femme, 1 mask, I guess, of the non-binary. And then so it just became me. One just sort of just drifted off out of just disinterest, I guess. And so yeah, I mean, even it was like this weird benevolent dictator position where it was like,
it's a lot of responsibility.
yeah, exactly. So
for what? So
22,000 people.
For 22,000 people, and like a couple thousand of them like hate you for nothing. Like you didn't even do it. You're the one doing the thing for free.
Yeah,
and they hate you for it.
Well, they didn't hate me until I didn't delete that one comment. After
which is like
a few hours.
You know how many people post on that?
I know.
It's hard
the
to
good
keep
thing was
up.
that, I mean, most of the time it would be crowds, like the people on the board would just like shame this person until they deleted their post, so I didn't have to do anything.
That place,
but you know,
it's just like everything else on the internet, where it's like equally amazing, helpful, and beautiful as it is equally like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah,
you know, it's got so many perks. Whenever, anything, a promotion, or I'm looking for an artist, it's like it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for it. But
cool,
then,
I'm glad, because a lot of people are just like, DIY Chicago sucks, and I'm like, okay, fine, go somewhere else. Good, have fun with that. No one's forcing you to use it.
No one's forcing you to use it. But then they're focusing on the things I'm talking about when it gets like really like whoa.
Yeah.
I'll see some stuff. I'm like, why is anybody even engaging in this? Why are they doing that to themselves?
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Don't feed the trolls. And then so now, you know, I mean, thankfully with my great admin team, no, but they're really, it's been great. Like, I mean, it used to be every single weekend, like I would devote Sunday to going through the member approvals, like new members who wanted to come in and being like, oh, they're a cop, they're a fake profile, that's a troll, you know, and like that one of the new admins just does that, like just handles new admin approvals. So I don't have to deal with it. None of the rest of us have to deal with it. And like, you know, and then you have like, I mean, so like that's Monet, and then there's like Will and Zoe and Sarah.
I've communicated with Zoe before. She manages bands, I believe.
Yeah, and does the Golden Dagger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, she got all this heat earlier, like this year, from making a post that was, I mean, for basically calling out somebody who posted a poster. I mean, I would have put up a show poster of that said, you know, like girls get in free, you know, or whatever. And it was like,
no.
She was like, yeah, this is kind of predatory. Like, if you have to like bribe women to come to your show, like that's kind of problematic. And
that's not good.
Right. You know, I thought that was a fair critique and also true.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, why are you making it women free, buddy? Why are you doing that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they want to come because of music? What are you saying?
There's places in this world that do that, and we all know what it is. It's weird clubs that I doubt you and I would ever go to, or it's creepy like sex parties.
Yeah, it's like frat parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy drug frat parties where it's like guys are not invited and only women are, and they get in for free. Like,
Right.
And only guys know by word of mouth. Like, that's it. And that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's just it's problematic either no matter how you slice it. And
Absolutely, yeah.
she got so much blowback from that, and I felt really bad because it's just like totally unwarranted and
Why?
unnecessary.
Who would give blowback to that?
Yeah, I mean, once again, like this is the mystery of finding out how terrible people can be. And so, you know, we removed all these people. One of them even went off and formed his own DIY Chicago. And it was like the true DIY Chicago or something like that. Like, no politics here. And whatever. It's like, it's, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's the internet in a nutshell. And thankfully, I feel like it is more useful, especially now with more of us modding it and stuff. I feel like I want it to be, because when I moved to Chicago, I just I didn't know what to do, no resources. I didn't know where to start. And I feel like I want that group to, you know, even though Facebook is dead and no one cares or whatever, I want that group to at least be, you know, a resource that is potentially accessible, you know.
Yeah,
for
no,
somebody.
it's amazing. I've personally never had an issue. I've only had good experiences personally.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, once again, look at who we are, you know. I mean, we're not trans or gay or you know, whatever, women.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, you know, generally, I mean, I now it's fine, better. I don't know. I shouldn't say it's fine. It's always getting better. But you know, I feel like there have just been times when it's just like, I remember there was like, I think a Chicago Tribune reporter or something that like posted like, hey, I'm doing a piece about how people are opening up DIY venues to subsidize their rent during like this economic downturn or something, and people were like, what? You shouldn't do that. But like, you know, just understandably, like, that's not a thing that happens, for one, but like there was just so many rude comments and just like people being toxic, and I was like, okay, look, you can say that this is a bad idea for an article without being sexist and misogynist and a douchebag, okay?
Yeah, there's always a better way to word something. Even if you want to give a constructive criticism, there's a better way to say it. Just take the time with it instead of just going off your feelings. And
it's the same thing, once again, I go back to Doug talking about in the studio when you're like, how about you try that? How about you try this? Instead, you can be like, well, you know, if I was going to do this, I might do this thing.
Yeah.
But that's just what I would do.
Yeah. There's always a way to say a nice thing, even when someone is truly just not in the right place. You can find a way to enunciate and be like, you know, maybe try this. I would do like we just said, what Doug said, I would do it this way. You know, I've been in that position before, and this worked for somebody. I had a band once try that. Do you want to try that? Instead of being like, no, that's stupid.
Yeah,
you're
right.
wrong.
Yeah.
And the customer is always right. Like, they are. And you got to find a way to... And it's people's emotions. Like, this is someone's creativity. They put a lot into it.
Yeah.
And you're trying to transduce that, you know? And like, you got to be aware of what that is to somebody.
It's someone's baby. And
you're
telling them it's ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's why every baby's beautiful. What a baby.
Right.
That baby's
Such
so
a cute...
beautiful. That's why the sunsets are always beautiful, you know?
Right, yeah. Well,
nobody wants to tell the main source of life and energy that it's ugly.
God's going to be like, okay, fine, that's my last sunset. Have fun. Never coming back up again. Enjoy night forever.
God.
I'm sorry, bro. I love sunsets, bro.
Did you grow up religious at all? Speaking of God.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up Baptist.
Oh, nice.
But
very familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
Went to a Baptist school, and I grew up non-denominational Christian, but went to a lot of Baptists. Even some Mennonite, Lutheran, Pentecostal, all of it really. Yeah.
The whole Protestant range.
The whole
rainbow.
thing. Yeah. Who's right? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I think one of my favorites was when I went to my friend's, like when I was like 7 or something. I went to my friend's Episcopalian church, and they had a female preacher, and I was just like, oh, how come we don't have those?
Well, because women are not supposed to do that. You know that.
This don't make no sense.
You know how hard it is to sit up there and read from a book? It's really hard to do.
And you gotta wear the robes. I mean, they don't look good on women. I'm just saying.
They don't.
I'm just saying. I'm the
don't.
Pope. Or no, whatever. I don't know. They don't even have Pope.
No, they have... just
know,
reverends.
church groups, I guess.
don't
I don't know who
know.
decides these things. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's really weird. It's really weird because when I talk to a lot of women in my family and friends that I grew up with, it's sad to like see how they also will feed into like, yeah, I don't think women should be president. Women should not be a pastor. And you're just like, that's not like this. Wow, like you were saying that, like you're the woman, like you're,
Yeah.
and you say that too, and it's really sad. It's
Yeah,
hard.
I don't really understand that sort of mindset. I mean, that's why I'm really glad my mom went against the Mennonite church to go and get an education, because I just couldn't imagine. I mean, thanks, Mom, but because I couldn't imagine her just being like, you know what? Yeah, they're right. Like I shouldn't go to college, and then she just never meets my dad.
Is
or
that's
something.
part of their rules? You can't go to college.
Women are not allowed to go to college at all. Men can only go to college if they're becoming, I believe, an engineer or a lawyer, which is kind of funny, I think.
Both. That's
Or a
so
doctor,
arbitrary.
maybe, I
Who
think.
comes up with this?
I mean, because I guess they realized we need doctors, we need engineers, and we need lawyers in our community. But and so I guess they can go to college, but that's it.
But you know the most important engineer, audio engineers.
Oh, okay. I wanted to talk about this because of Doug.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a personal axe that I'm gonna grind here. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So, I don't like the term audio engineer.
I thought you were gonna pull out a gun or something. He's like, I'm pulling a beer. Yeah.
I don't like the term audio engineer because engineers, they do things like Fourier transforms. They're sitting there with their compass, their protractor. They're doing.
Well, there's many different
doing-
types of engineers.
They're doing. I mean, yeah, but I feel like they all have one thing in common, and that's they do some heavy duty math that someone's gonna die if they do it wrong.
Yeah.
Civil engineer. I don't know.
Mechanical,
Mechanical
electrical,
engineer, yeah,
aerospace
electrical
engineer.
Like they're all doing some
Yeah.
heavy duty stuff. I think the closest that maybe audio comes to is electrical, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
when you're doing live sound, like, you have to make sure that you're plugging into like two different like circuits if you're running like certain like amount of juice through a preamp or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
But not preamp, power amp. But I personally think of myself as more of an audio technician. I think of myself as an audio tech. I call other people audio techs because we're technicians. We use tools that have been made already by other people.
Yeah.
We're not going in there and like inventing. I mean, if you're the kind of person that's like building your own preamp like from scratch, like redesigning the circuit, okay, but then you're like more of a
You're an electrical engineer.
almost at that point.
Yeah.
But you're an audio engineer, sure, because you're doing it because you're thinking about the audio at the end of the circuit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm plugging, just, tab A into slot B.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here like reinventing anything. I just feel like it diminishes the term engineer. It's almost like us sound techs have just been we feel so downtrodden and forgotten. And
What about recording engineer?
I mean, that's even then still maybe a little closer, but like, I mean,
See, I know I agree with you. I always feel weird with it too. But where I think it's a vantage point, like a view in which how you see it. If you're looking at it that way, which is way more of the technical part of it, I agree with you. Then you're not an audio engineer. You're an audio technician, or you could be a sound designer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But where it can be, the view can be an audio engineer is if you step outside of that and you're thinking about it philosophically, what you're doing to sound.
okay,
You
okay.
are engineering something. You're taking something
okay,
and
well then you're an
transferring
artist. You're an artist.
Yeah,
Right?
you could be.
I mean, do you call like someone that makes pots like a clay engineer?
That's a good point.
I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I'm glad you brought it
You're
up.
crafting something.
Yeah.
But you're not like, that's what I'm saying. Engineering feels like I'm building a bridge that has to like survive.
Yeah. What
Like-
is the definition of just engineer?
That's what I'm saying. There's not really one as far as I know. But
There's
like,
gotta be a
I just
definition.
feel like personally, I don't feel like I'm an engineer. I'm
Yeah.
not, I just don't feel like that's what I am. If anything, I am more of an artist
Yeah.
who's using tools. So I'm like like I don't
Sound
know.
design is not a bad one to put.
Right. A
And-
designer kind of uses tools
Yeah.
to achieve art.
I'm kind of curious what the definition. I really am of like just engineering is,
Uh-huh.
or engineer. Like what does the internet say the definition of an engineer is? Like because I kind of I'm leaning towards what you're saying. A person who designs, builds, or maintains engines, machines, or public works.
None of those sound like plugging in a microphone.
No, unless you're designing the microphone. A branch of science and technology This is engineering, a branch of science and technology concerned with the design, building, and use of engines, machines, and structures.
Okay, use. Okay, sure, but that's only one aspect of that definition. That's why I feel like
And
technician.
technology. We are using technology.
Yeah, that's why I feel like technician makes more sense because we're mostly using it. We're not designing and building it.
Huh.
You know, that's
This,
why
this is a hard one.
that's why I say sound tech. You know, we're a sound technician, audio technician, because we're using tools that other people have made in order to accomplish a feat. You know.
And then the definition of audio engineer on Google is an audio engineer, also known as a sound engineer or a recording engineer, helps to produce a recording or a live performance balance and the adjusting of sound sources using equalization, dynamic processing, and audio effects, mixing, reproduction, and reinforcement of sound.
Yeah, but that's just like the name we gave ourselves.
Yeah.
We gave ourselves that name so much that Google was like, yeah, okay, sure, you're engineers.
That's so funny.
But like, I mean, I really don't feel like that's what we are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Joe Meek was an audio engineer, but like, am I an audio engineer? No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not gonna say that maybe you aren't. You know.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
I just feel like it's we gave ourselves, we have a sort of inferiority complex because people forget we exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when Doug was talking about how like his parents have no idea what he does.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the same way.
Me too.
I was like, I've tried to like show my dad like literally videos from me behind the board moving faders, and he's like, what?
You're not a radiologist? I don't understand.
He's never. I don't think he's been to a show in like 30 years at least. So it's like he's just like, what?
He's very detached from that, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like.
Is he older too?
Oh yeah, he's a boomer.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Because I grew up with parents who were born in the 50s and like working class, very blue collar working class. They didn't go to college. The last education they had was like in 1973. And because of that, I have like so many, like, I wouldn't say a boomer mindset or a Gen X mindset, but I have like the tendencies of like, yeah, just like, I don't know, we'll figure out how to do it. Just like, you don't really have a choice because that's where they came from.
Yeah.
And just things like that, or like, I guess I just got to grind and like get this done instead of like, no one's going to hand it to me, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I finesse it well with the millennial mentality and.
Oh, I mean, that's the how can I make this into my living sort of mindset.
Yeah.
Because it's all gig work,
Yeah.
So like I might as well be doing gig work where at least it's like something I don't hate. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, personally, I don't need to inflate my own ego if I call myself an engineer when I didn't go to 4 years of college learning what Fourier transforms are,
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No, you make a good point. I think that it's a hard one because you are kind of you're layering things, you're building up something, you're reinforcing something, you're using so much technology to come together and make something else come on the outside of it. You make a good point. I could see many of these titles working. Because I call myself a sound designer. I change it up all the time. It's like, it almost depends on the circumstance.
Well, Doug said he considered himself as a producer.
Yeah.
Which, that's
a whole nother one, because that's a really cryptic place. Like,
yeah.
Producer, like...
See, I feel like I don't want to necessarily always call myself a producer because I'm not sure how much my influence should be attached to what I record.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing like what we do, where it's just like, session, come in, it's a live session.
Yeah. Producer is a hard one, because some people actually take that role on, some people don't, and some producers don't know how microphones work or how faders work or how any of this stuff works.
Yeah.
And Doug does. So it's like, it really depends on what you just want to call yourself with the many hats that clearly someone like him or someone like you or someone like myself wear.
True.
We're not just doing one thing. Sometimes someone is just mixing. They just mix.
Yeah.
Or they just capture something. They record it. Or they master it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because all those people call themselves recording engineer, mixing engineer, mastering engineer.
Yeah, I know. They're all engineers,
They're
baby.
all engineers. Who isn't one? It's so funny, too. When I was a kid, I was always telling my parents I want to be an engineer. Because they'd be like, you'd be a good engineer. And I'm like, I want to be an engineer. I don't know. I like to build stuff. I like to make things happen. I like to design things. I like to swing the hammer and figure out a way to make something happen. And I did not know, like, how many worlds that could be, what that means. But, yeah, recording engineer, audio technician, recording technician, producer, sound designer, sound artist.
I mean, it's like, kind of going back to what we were talking about sort of at the beginning of our conversation where if you're just a curious person, if you're like you're talking about the DIY mentality, it's like, what do I want to learn?
Yeah.
I want to learn everything. You know, I want to like, how far into this rabbit hole can I go? You know, until like maybe you just lose interest in it. I don't know. I don't even know if it's like you lose interest, you run out of time. I don't know, like, because right now I've been, the latest project I'm working on is I'm writing for a musical.
Oh, really?
So I've never done anything like that before in my life.
How'd that happen?
Well, I mean, there's this project and they have already shot it with like music that's in place, and they want to replace it with better music. So I have all the sort of the lyrics and mostly what like the melody is, but like, and like tempo and everything. But then they want it just to be better. So I'm like, okay, like that's a challenge, you know? I've done soundtrack stuff before, but never a musical where I have to. So I don't know, you know. I mean, maybe I'm really in over my head here. I don't know.
You'll find out the fun way.
Oh yeah,
that's the mentality of saying yes to everything.
Right, exactly.
I mean, there really is only one way to find out, and that's to like just do it.
Right.
And I think the curiosity that killed the cat is, I think, what drives people into doing things that you've done and I've done, where you just kind of just want to learn how everything works. You want to talk to people. You want to understand more about mixed media art, and someone selling prints and someone selling pins, and you talk to them and how sound works, and then you play drums and you're like, well, that microphone's there, and why is it capturing that way? It just goes, and the wormhole it never ends.
Especially now, like pursuit. I mean, like, you know, it's crazy to think about. Like, I bought a book when I was like 13, whatever, that was like the Beatles, like Apple Road to whatever.
Yeah.
And like Apple Road, Abbey Road to, I don't know what Z was, but it was like had all this stuff about like how they recorded everything, because it was like, it's the Beatles, so like all this stuff is documented and it's much more like available. But if you want to know how anything was recorded that wasn't as big as the Beatles, you had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, you just had to like look up who was the engineer or like who was the producer, and you know, maybe you can find out how they did something else or whatever. But like now it's like you can just find everything. You can be like, oh, I love this drum sound, like who did this? And then you can be like, oh, you know, like what's their technique? You know, like they did an interview with Tape Op, and like you can read about it. That's why one thing that I've really loved is Chris Woodhouse. Are you familiar with Chris Woodhouse?
I am not, no.
He did a lot of records for Ty Segall and the OCs and a couple other bands that like the Bay Area, and he was like kind of the sound, I feel like, that every band in Chicago wanted to be around like 2014 to 2016, it seemed like. And the funny thing was, as much as I tried to find out how this dude does anything, he didn't give any interviews. He never he doesn't have any contact info available online. He has I don't even know how old the guy was. You know, he's just this mysterious force that's created this sound that everybody wants. And so I had the pleasure of opening for Ty Segall at a show at the Empty Bottle.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, Ty, I hate to be that guy, but can you just tell me like a couple of secrets to how it is to record with Chris Woodhouse? And he was like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. He uses this thing, he uses that thing, he always uses this. That's like his main thing.
What's that?
Well, no, okay, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. It's a germanium diode master bus compressor, it's just a 2-channel like master compressor, and like he just runs that everything through that on the way out, and that's like one of his secret tricks.
Huh?
And it's I can't remember the company that does it. It's like the gray chassis, like yellow knobs. It's very distinctive. But if you just Google like germanium master compressor, you'll find it. But I was like, oh, okay,
interesting.
That's one thing. That's all you'll get.
That's all you'll get, people.
Subscribe to my Patreon for more. for more secrets from that were given me freely.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but you know, it's just like, because like that, and I felt like that was such an old school way to get info. Just literally have to ask the artist backstage. Yeah. Because there's no Wikipedia article or whatever.
That's cool, though. It's cool that you were able to do that with him and the Bandcamp CEO.
Oh, yeah,
Those are... You got any more crazy stories like that? What's the craziest thing that happened at one of the DIY shows you were putting on?
I don't know.
Your face is telling. You're going through the really like, oh no, I don't think I can talk about that one.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like some of these are gonna sound really bad. I don't want to talk about the negative ones.
It doesn't have to be negative.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could say crazy stuff that's not really negative. It's like that you had to deal with that. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
for those listening, Chris is making some faces.
Yeah, I'm going through it. You're right. God, I don't know. I mean, I guess craziest. What does that even mean? I guess I guess there was the night that the day we got our front glass window broken was pretty wild because there was this kid. We kicked him out. We got him in an Uber, sent him home. He came back later that night, still drunk, really drunk, and
couldn't have been that drunk. He got home, came back.
I know, right? He was like sobered up and then came back. It's like I don't know, yeah, wild. And then but like we all thought he left because like like I said, I put everything in my room. Like I take everything out of the basement, all the studio stuff, and put it in my room for the shows so that it doesn't get beer spilled on it and stuff or knocked over or whatever. So I fell asleep on the couch because my bed was covered in gear or whatever. And then I woke up the next morning to my roommate yelling at this guy to get the fuck out of the house. And so he did. But then very shortly after that, he was pounding on the door demanding me let back in to get his hat. So I went around to the side of the fence and I told him, I was like, what's your hat look like? I'll get your hat. And he was like, no, man, you got to let me in. And I was like, okay, I'll find your hat. I can't let you back in here. And then as I was like trying to get back in here to find his hat, he jumped the fence. I could hear him climbing the fence. So then I run back out there with the snow shovel because that was the closest thing I had to a weapon at the time. And I was like, dude, you got to, you cannot climb this fence right now. I'm going to call the cops. He's like, I don't care. I'll call the cops, man. I was like, oh my God. Okay, fine. You can come in here and get your hat, but then you have to leave, okay? So he comes in here. And it turns out he had fallen asleep on my bed on top of all my gear.
Oh my God.
And I guess I unlocked the door at some point after everybody left and didn't realize he stuck in or something. And then so he does find his hat on the bed amongst all the gear. And then I'm like, cool, you got your hat, leave. And he's like, so I'm opening the door for him. And as I'm putting the, unlocking the thing, he sucker punches me in the face. And I stumble back. And I'm just like, what? And then he does a straight up old school the fighting Irish pose, and he's like, come at me, bro, come at me. As he backs out the door, and I'm like, what? I was like, get out, and I pick up this U-lock that's on the floor, and I was like, get out! I don't want to see you, man. You gotta get out of here. And he was like, come at me, bro, come at me. And I was just like, you know what? Screw you. And I throw the U-lock at him, and I close the door. And then as soon as I did that, I was like, oh my God, my door's made of glass. I realized what I just done.
Yeah.
Because then immediately, that U-lock, I stepped back because I knew what was going to happen. I stepped back and the U-lock came flying through the door. And if you've ever heard a glass door break, it's a very loud noise.
No. Is your hearing okay?
No, it woke up everybody in the house, though.
Oh my God. What time in the morning was this?
It was 9 a.m. on a Sunday, It's
just
crazy.
the great way to edify the Lord.
Get on down to church, you ruffian.
God, and those are probably expensive to get fixed.
We ended up throwing a fundraiser show to pay for it. It was $300.
Oh man.
And my favorite was we had Malky play that fundraiser show.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo guys, there wasn't a door charge. But, you can't have a door charge when there's no door, so please donate.
a little bit of humor in there.
Yeah,
you gotta have fun with it. That is a wild story.
Yeah, that's just when I was like, man, is DIY worth it? But I was like, you know what, this is the first time this kind of thing has happened in
That's what you just said right there. That's the question. Is it worth it? There's a lot of pain and suffering and struggle and
cleaning up vomit and
I always go through that dilemma. I've been remodeling and repainting my house slowly over the pandemic and spending a lot of time and effort, money, thinking about it, placing everything properly. I'm like, do I even want to have a show in here ever again? Maybe I'll just have them outside. Because I had to do all this because I did 10 years of having shows here.
Yeah.
Everything got ruined, and the toilet got ruined, and the floor, and I had to replace that because
of
all the usage, and it started leaking, and the handprints everywhere, and
have you seen my bathroom? There's still a giant wine stain on the wall.
Yeah, it never ends. There beer splatters everywhere. Just when you see dried up liquid on the wall, it's not water, people. It's beer. Years of it.
Yeah.
Just everything, the damage, the gear hitting stuff when it's coming through. And this is my childhood home. This is not just some place I'm renting and leaving,
Yeah.
So it's a hard one. All those stories, you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been doing this for this long.
I know. That's what was running through my head of just it's just chaos and
but when it's good, it's good.
Yeah, I mean,
When it's good, it's a lot
I
of
like
fun.
chaos a lot. Like, I don't like. I mean, I've lived alone for all of 2 months in my life, and I hated it because it was like everything was exactly where I left it, and nothing will make any noise unless
That
I
sounds
make
kind of
it.
nice right now. I'm so used to that. I never lived alone ever.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what would it be like? To like, yeah, everything like this stays there and it's not messed up,
and it's just silence unless you make a
and
noise.
the garbage isn't overflowing.
Yeah.
because I took it out and it's there again and doesn't
Yeah, you know,
smell.
that was interesting those 2 months because I made like one bag of trash per month. You know,
So it actually would smell really bad. It's like, oh, it's been sitting for a while.
no, it was just like it was like at the end of the month. I was like, I haven't emptied the trash in a long time. Oh, I guess I might as well do that. And it's like, man, how do I have so many roommates that make so much more garbage than I do? I don't know.
Do you see yourself living alone sometime?
No,
Never.
no, I don't know. I sometimes like. I mean, I got the garden. And I'm such like a solitary person.
I know that's
sometimes.
your right way of. I live alone. I got a garden, and that's
Like
how I live
know.
alone.
I mean, that's like I go out there and I'm alone. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
It is like my little sanctuary. I'm just like it's just me and like birds and insects and like flowers and stuff, and it's like nice. But like, yeah, I do kind of just like having a little bit of chaos every now and then. Like, I feel like my life would be very boring and sad if I didn't have stuff kind of constantly bubbling up all the time and
Yeah.
just like you come home and there's somebody hanging out and you're like, hey, what's up? And then like now you're watching a movie.
Yeah. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes I do love, I go home and two of the roommates are watching something interesting on TV and you sit down and like, they got a bowl and like, oh, I take a hit.
Right,
And you're like,
yeah.
sure. And then
Yeah.
and then someone else shows up and is like, dude, we're smoking weed. You're like, oh,
right.
what's up? And
That's
you're just like,
community,
it's fun.
Community is
It can
important.
be really fun. And we're gonna watch this, dude. Should we watch that? Let's put on this movie. Let's watch this game. No, let's do. And it's just like funny. And then you go to the other part of the house. Let's put some records on.
Right, yeah.
Oh wait,
yeah.
someone's smoking ribs. Oh, cool. And they come in and like everyone. It's like a family without the family nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like sometimes I get this really, like, even though I live with 4 people, like, sometimes I'll go upstairs and my 3 roommates upstairs will all be like in their own rooms doing individual things, and it's kind of like, oh, this is depressing. Like we're all in the same space together. We should like do stuff together. And like I don't know. I have this general sense that like community is really important to like mental health and like human like I don't know humanity.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why like I'm so devoted to like DIY is because like it's a way to inject. It's like it's not about commerce. It's not about like how much money is this band gonna make? How much is this venue gonna make? It's not about like bookings just solely for like what's gonna make the most money. It's like, hey, let's just get some good people together and you can come in and you can just see this and we're all together here in this space and we're doing something. And I feel like that's so important in a world where it's just like everything's been cannibalized by like alienation and isolation and atomization and capitalism, and it's just like everything has to like you're only doing it because it's like gonna make somebody money, and it's like it's just really important. I feel like to have stuff that people just do together because we're humans and we just do stuff together.
I agree with you, and I think that ethos is why you've been doing what you do and why I do what I do. But the sad thing is you have other people to feel and think that way. If they don't, even ever so slightly off, then it's imbalanced, and then there could be a sense of resentment or hostility where someone like, I just want to be alone.
Right.
Some people truly are like a sense of introvert.
Yeah,
they
totally.
like they regain energy by just being by themselves.
Yeah,
So-
and I have to remind myself that too when I feel depressed, like seeing that. But it's like, no, that's just them enjoying themselves, their time together. And
Yeah,
their time
maybe they're
alone
just
is fine.
reading or writing something or listening to music or watching a movie by themselves because
Yeah.
they're tired of noise. And I'm a fan of the balance of it. I enjoy coming home to that, but my God, I also love it when it's one of those evenings where everyone went out and I get to like finally turn up blast to 5.1 and watch like a 4K disc and just like just disappear in a space movie or something. And I'm like, this is awesome. I finally don't hear people talking in the kitchen or music bouncing around. I get to like have this experience. That's what this is here for. But then it's also nice the next night when we're all hanging out. Like I like both a lot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like I wouldn't like just the isolation. The good thing about living with other people is you sometimes get the isolation, and sometimes you get the community. And you can have the community anytime as long as there's at least one other person willing to hang out.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're like alone, then you're probably gonna have to like schedule time to hang out with people. Like, and I don't know.
It is fun doing
we
that.
scheduled this.
We
so,
did schedule this. There are things I do have to schedule, and when it's friends coming in from out of town, I have to schedule that. But my house is a revolving door. I don't schedule any hangout. Like friends just show up. And I'm just like, what's up?
Yeah, you know?
It's the same people. It's we have a mutual understanding. I always tell them, like, you're not guest. You lost your guest privilege like 10 years ago. Like, take your shoes off. You're not a guest anymore.
Yeah.
Like, guests are someone that hasn't been around in a while, you know? I feel like a guest here, like, if you came over, you'd be a guest, but
right, yeah,
not the person that is here every day.
Yeah, you know, that's how it used to be at, like, the Young Camelots. You know, there were definitely people, like, I would just show up there whenever, and it was like, there was always somebody there, and it was like, you just walk into some situation. And that was really cool. And, you know, I want to cultivate that here, but it's kind of hard with, I mean, you know, I don't know. It just has never really been the same. Maybe because I'm not necessarily as much of like I don't know. Like, I like my private time too. I'm not a constant party animal.
Yeah.
You know, I like to like be doing mixing and doing, and, you know, recording and stuff, like, you know, like by myself. And, you know, so I'm not always like just down to people to come show up whenever. But, you know, I do like that aspect of just like, because that's what life was like before we had cell phones and stuff. You just roll over to your friend's house and just like, hey, what's up? Are you watching The Simpsons? Okay. Can I eat some of these, I don't know.
Cheetos?
Triscuits?
Triscuits?
I don't know.
I did you have that growing up where you just like showed up at someone's house?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, you know their family?
Yeah.
Like, you saw things you shouldn't have? Like, stuff like you just showed up all the time?
Yeah.
I had a couple of those. I'm like, I should not have seen that.
No, no. The reason I actually brought up Triscuits, it was actually, no, it wasn't Triscuits. It was the other one. The fucking, I don't know, equally tasteless wheat cracker snack.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I can't
do.
remember what it is,
Yeah.
but like, cause like I went over to my friend's house, and I used to go there all the time, and like, you know, just hang out after school, and like his dad got really angry one time and was like, "You're eating too many of these Triscuits. I bought these for my family, not for you." And I was like, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry." I was like, you know, like 9 or something.
Yeah. It's
And,
the worst when someone's dad yells at you. Mom or dad, but
yeah.
when like they're not your blood, they're not your uncle, your mom or dad, and like yelling at you, you don't know what to do. You can't even react to somebody because like, you're not even my parent. I can't even talk back to you. You're not my parent. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's extra scary.
I can't even imagine being a dad and just like yelling at my children's friends. I don't know.
Yeah. My parents would just be like, go outside. If they were that mad, they'd be like, don't go in the house. They'd warn me like, your friends aren't coming to the house. Because it was a revolving door then when they lived there.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like, stay outside. Like, you guys can hang out, but do not come in the house.
Right,
I'd be
right.
like, guys,
yeah.
pee in the forest.
Go find something to do somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I got
was-
that a lot.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I don't know.
Especially playing video games.
Like,
Yeah, sorry.
I'll go outside if you're playing video games.
Yeah, it would just be like, stop playing video games together. Just go do something outside. Like, okay.
Were you a Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Super Nintendo.
I was going to say, you're a Super Nintendo guy. I was Sega Genesis.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
I don't know. I just said that. I don't even know.
Okay.
I got nothing.
It's like they're both Asian, so
I wasn't even going there.
it's pre-Xbox.
Yeah, that's funny actually. Yeah, I don't know. I had Sega. I loved Sonic the Hedgehog and Street Fighter, and I had the
Like, Street Fighter was on SNES too, though.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
What about Streets of Rage? 'Cause that wasn't on SNES, but that was the one game I really liked on Genesis.
Was Moonwalker the Michael Jackson game?
No,
on
that was not
NES?
on SNES.
I
no.
had that on Sega Genesis, and that was my most
Oh,
valuable
snap.
game. When I sold my Sega Genesis, which I regret, but I needed money at the time.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I got a lot of money because I had so many games. I mean, 30 years of collecting games, and I had the Moonwalker one. And just for that game alone, I got like $130 just for the game. And I had like 50 games. I had so many cool ones, but
Yeah.
that one was awesome. It was. Did you ever play it?
Yeah, of course.
It's hilarious.
I've been to Township.
When he just
Or not Township. Oh my
Flips.
god, Emporium.
throws his hat.
Yeah.
You're like, who made this? It is the leg thing, and he just like.
Dude, I mean, that was back in the 90s when, like, every mascot and celebrity had a game. Like, Shaq Fu, Michael Jordan's Windy City. They made a game for Spot, the 7-Up logo. Chester Cheetah had a
Tiger
game.
Woods had one. Ken Griffey Jr. had one.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ken Griffey Jr. and let's play Major League Baseball.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I know no one remembers that one. That was an obscure one.
Yeah, that didn't turn out well for him at all. I can't believe that he's just like, he was just this vert ramp skater.
Yeah,
just
I
a
know.
nobody. And it's just worth probably like hundreds of millions of
Yeah, I
dollars
know.
because of a video
We'll just
game.
slap a name on it, whatever. Like, what was it, Dave Mira BMX Adventure? Or, I don't even know.
Sean White or
I don't even
the
know.
snowboarding one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had all of those, but, like, they weren't as good of games.
1080. Remember 1080?
Oh, of course.
That game, I never was able to do a 1080 in that game.
False advertising.
That game, they did that. That game got people really into like understanding geometry or
Yeah.
you know. I was like, wait, why is it 1080? I'm like, wait, 720, 360.
That's a lot of turns.
That's 1, 2, 3 turns. That's so funny. God,
Yeah.
those old games.
Did you ever play Jet Set Radio though? That was for
yeah.
Dreamcast. So
Oh my God, I love Dreamcast.
okay, good.
I
almost
that
thought
too.
I wore my
was a
Dreamcast
Sega
shirt to
family,
this.
you know. Dreamcast, Sega Genesis,
Yep.
Sega CD, Sega
You had a
Saturn.
Sega CD and Saturn?
Yeah, Saturn
oh my
CD.
God.
And most
Oh my
importantly, I never had Nintendo. I only had Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
But we were the
same.
type of family
Oh,
where we
that's
got
nice.
it like a year or two later from everybody, you know, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never knew the difference. I remember opening it up, our Sega or our Nintendo, a year after it came out, and I just thought it was brand new because it was in a brand new box, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know, it's not like, I don't know. I mean, that was like 95?
Six was the
Six?
first one.
Yeah.
97 is when I got it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Because, yeah, I mean, I remember the first day of playing Mario 64 and, you know, and just being like, what's 3D? Wow.
It was pretty mind blowing.
Because I didn't have a PlayStation, so I like that whole thing just blew right past me.
Yeah.
I didn't have it, so,
PlayStation.
you know.
Came out, I think, a year earlier, right?
90, what was that? 95.
I think it was 94 in
Yeah.
Japan and 95 in America.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I remember because it was 95 for PlayStation, 2000 for PlayStation 2, 2005. Now that we've driven away everybody who's not into video games,
I don't
Let's
play
talk
video
about the
games
real
at all
deals.
anymore.
I know.
Like,
Even though I have a PlayStation 2 over there, I just don't have time for it.
I lost complete interest, a decade ago. I just don't.
Well, here's my spiel about video games. And since, you asked me on here to give spiels, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be really heavily addicted to video games.
Really?
I honestly think that video games are one of the most addictive drugs out there, even though I just got done talking about how like I did all these other drugs and stuff.
What when you say addictive, like how often were you playing?
Well, so like back when I was like 14, I went from a middle school to a totally different high school where I didn't know anybody. You know, I like totally completely different.
That's
And-
hard. That's a lot.
Yeah, and so like I basically just like isolated myself into a world of playing Counter-Strike a lot, which I really at the time just didn't realize. I guess I kind of did because I would just come home and like play Counter-Strike until like I couldn't anymore. I would also like I was an athlete, like I played soccer and stuff like up until then, but then like I just didn't like how everybody was competitive, which is
It's funny you say that because I'm the same way. I
Really?
love sports, but because I'm not competitive at all. Like I just don't care. I just want
Right.
to have fun and have the
right.
community.
This is why
and
we're
just-
DIY people.
Yeah, exactly. I just play with people and come up with a fun plan and execute it and like just have a good time and have exercise and just all that. But like being aggressive about winning and mean, like Michael Jordan, I'm like, nah, I don't.
Right,
I
exactly.
do not care about that.
And
at
there's like
all.
a point I feel like when you're like an athlete when you're growing up, like where it goes from being like fun with your friends to being like, we gotta win this, dude. What are you doing, bro? And you're like, this isn't fun anymore. Like, screw this.
Yeah.
Like it's like right about when everybody hits puberty and it becomes like high stakes.
Yeah.
And it's like your identity is tied up with it and stuff. and you're
High
like,
school is when it really becomes
right,
serious.
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like I didn't like that, so I quit that, and I didn't. It was like kind of like, I mean, I was at this point sort of getting into music, but it wasn't like my entire like identity. Because like I said, it wasn't like until I was like 14. I mean, I guess I was like dabbling in it, but it wasn't like whatever. And so I was really into like Counter-Strike, and I like got so good that like people would like ban me from servers because they were convinced I was cheating.
Really?
Like, they were thought like, yeah, I couldn't like just play with any. I could just go into any random server and they would just be like, oh, hacks, and then just boot me. So I had to like find communities where like they were like, oh, your personality is funny and like whatever, we don't care about losing. And so I decided like I was just doing nothing but playing video games all the time, but I really was getting into more music and playing drums, and I really wanted to pursue that. And so I was like, you know what, I can't balance these. I gotta stop. I gotta stop playing video games. And like. So like really about like 15, I just like stopped being into video games like at all. Like it kind of tapered off until like about like 17, and I completely stopped. And like that's why I still think like PlayStation 2 graphics are like cool. Like guys, any game made after like 2005, I'm like, whoa, look at those graphics.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm like completely behind. I'm like, let's play Gran Turismo 3.
This game is over a decade old. Whoa.
When you see like a PlayStation 5 on like a 4K television with a 4K HDMI cable and the 4K disc, you're like, what? This is possible?
It's scary.
And it just keeps getting better and better. I'm like, it's too much for me. I love the suspension of disbelief, like knowing like when I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 3 in 2002, I'm like, yeah, this isn't real.
Yeah, right.
And that's okay. But when it's like feels real and you do like real things and people
Yeah.
have real reactions with their face and their eyes, you're like, now I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, right. It's like funny when you like kill cartoon characters in Grand Theft Auto 3, but then it's like Grand Theft Auto 6, you'll probably be able to see like their sweat droplets as they like get
As they're
suffocated by
gasping
you.
for their last
Like,
breath. Yeah. I think that's coming out probably next year.
Yeah.
I know they're due. It's been a while, like 8 years.
Yeah, they've been really milking Grand Theft Auto 5. Even I still, once again, every time I play it, I'm just like, this is amazing.
I used to love playing that when it came out. I would just play for hours.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, now, it's been a while. Time and lack of interest. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, video game design and video game sound design and graphic design is a huge industry. It's a huge ordeal.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, but I just not.
No, yeah, I'm always amazed at like, that's the cool thing about when I watch someone else play video games is like, I notice all the sound. Like how you can tell like when something is far away and to your left. Even though it's on a crappy like TV, you know, like you can tell like, oh, that's over there. Mm-hmm. When I go, that's behind you.
Yeah,
which is even like more impressive.
Playing in a 5.1 rig is nuts. It's nuts. I've seen people do it at my house. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. Like,
That would be nuts.
man, where was this when I was playing Diddy Kong Racing on N64 trying to beat the pig? Like, why did I not have this?
GoldenEye would have been a whole different experience.
GoldenEye. Oh, now that's where we should have stopped with video games.
Right, that was it, peak.
GoldenEye.
Especially music-wise, but I digress.
Dude.
I digress.
Man,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Crazy Taxi for Dreamcast. Oh, God.
That's too much Offspring for me.
Yeah,
I
it
really got
was.
sick of the Offspring after that game.
That's funny that you say that.
Because I used to do this thing where I would take the RCAs, I would unplug the audio RCAs, but leave the video one in, and then plug in like my CD player.
I would do the same thing.
Because I would just like, screw this music. I'm tired of hearing
I
this.
would do the same thing. I would either do that or just have a boombox to the side and just play like CDs.
Right.
And just mute it. I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of this. Or you can go into the preferences and just like turn down the audio.
Yeah, right. Turn down the music.
Anything to
yeah.
like manipulate it because I was like, I want my own soundtrack. It's the same issue I have with going to like bars. Like I have such a problem with bars, not for the idea of it, but like I'm not always a fan of the music. I'm not always a fan of what they're watching. I'm not always a fan of the overpriced alcohol.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the big thing for me.
It's the biggest thing. It's like I want to buy a bottle of bourbon for $30 and not and have it over the course of the weekend and not spend $200 on just buying shots the whole time or whatever it is. And then the tipping and all that. It's noisy. I don't know. I just can't.
No, yeah,
I'm not a fan.
The thing that I realized going to bars here in Chicago when I first moved here was I was like, oh, everybody's like in the same way. I realized like in the same way that like our parents, well, not my parents, but like boomers generally listened to like the music from when they were like, I don't know, 18 or whatever, like forever.
They just never got the memo. Time went on.
It'll be Caroline, Sweet Caroline, until the day they die.
Yeah.
But like, I would go to these bars and they'd be playing like LCD Sound System, and I was like, this is music from like 10 years ago. And then like you still like fast forward to today, you go to a bar and it's like a 50-50 chance that they'll be playing, Daft Punk is playing in my house. You're just oh God, they've become the boomers.
Yeah.
It's all the boomers.
Yeah.
And like I don't like that. I want to hear new music.
Yeah.
I want to hear new
You become
things.
a product of your time and space, and I don't like that at all. I love music from every era. I have respect for it. I know what it means. I know that I can't have what I have now without it.
Yeah.
That's how it works. But I want to know what's going on now. And guess what, world? I hate to break it to you, but there's a lot of great music right now because there's almost 8 billion people. And people like to create stuff and have output, and it just keeps happening and turned over. It gets lost in the weeds of the algorithms on streaming services, but if you do the work and the homework and you educate yourself on it, it's endless. From 1920 to 2020, you got 100 years to choose from, and it just keeps going. And there's so much output. Same with movies. I hate when people say there's no good movies anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? Movies have gotten better. Technology's gotten better. Sound design's gotten better. Acting's gotten better. Camera lenses have gotten better. Prosthetics have gotten better. CGI's gotten better. Like everything's gotten better.
It's the same thing with video game syndrome for me. I'm just like, man, that movie was amazing, and then I read the reviews and it's like cheap this, cheap that, CG was crap, and I'm like, oh, I'm just easily impressed. I don't watch a lot of movies, so like I don't even realize it's a cliche.
You don't watch a lot of movies?
I watch a lot of old movies.
Oh, The Mask.
That hasn't aged well. I'll tell
I
you
shoulda-
what. That has
no,
not. A lot of these are problematic as
Oh
hell.
my god. Yeah, the mask with Cameron Diaz, the way that she's treated. Oh yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these '90s movies. It's a lot of like schlubby, dumb, like
Showgirls.
problematic, dumb guy.
Showgirls.
Yeah,
Oh god.
it's just a lot of like where it's like the main character is just some dude, and then it's like the women fall in love with them.
It's always the
Despite
same trope.
Them being absolutely generic, unimpressive, or terrible.
Yeah.
And I feel like and it's like that's sort of I have to like almost dissect that whole thing because I realized like, oh, these are the movies I watched when I was growing up, and it's like this is the thing that was implanted in my mind growing up. Like
when we thought it was good,
know?
like, oh, it's a good movie. It's like, no, it's just nostalgic. It's not really a good movie.
Yeah.
I should have brought some to donate. I have so many.
Really?
Yeah. I used to collect them.
How would you come to the VCR? No, I'm just kidding.
I should have brought some.
It's okay.
I'll-
I mean,
next time.
obviously, I'm not hurting
A
here.
View to Kill. Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Heat.
I
This
feel
is
like,
great.
I feel like a few of these.
Chinatown. That's awesome.
Yeah, the Chinatown copy I've got is a little messed up. It keeps stuttering a little bit, and you just kind of have to adjust the pic.
I have one I'll donate to you, but you can't open it. It's an unopened hook from 1991.
Oh wow, you know.
Do you have one already?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you do that, someone's gonna see it at a show here and be like, "Dude, I love Hook."
When you got to frame it, like this is unopened.
Yeah, we used to have. I mean, we still have 3 Hook copies of Hook.
3 Hook copies.
Yeah.
I have 2. One open, one unopened. I have a Spanish Batman Forever,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is awesome because I was given the regular one, the English
awesome.
one, and then I was given the Spanish one by my grandmother because she wanted me to learn Spanish. My parents told me not to open it yet until I got home because they didn't know, like, oh, you have 2. Like, don't open them yet. We got to figure this out. I'm 6. So I opened up both and they were like so mad. I would watch the Spanish one and I'd watch the English. I'd go between them.
That's awesome. That's like, it's funny, that's because it's one of those things that's gotten rid of through DVDs.
Yeah.
Like, now you just have the subtitle track or the language track, I should say. And like, it's funny because, like sometimes like we'll be watching on VHS here and someone will be like, can you turn on subtitles? And I'll be like,
This is a VHS.
no. Yeah. Yeah. And same thing. It's like, I mean, you had to buy the Spanish version,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. It was great. That's so funny. I love
One
it.
of those things you forget about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's funny because like you were talking to Bora Bora about language and stuff, and I was like, oh dang, because like that's one of the other main things I've been doing since pandemic was I've been learning Spanish.
Oh, really? How's it going?
See.
First thing you learn in Spanish, Spanish 101. See? No, I see, I see.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
I always just, oh God, that's so funny. Yeah, I need to learn. I need to learn it. It sucks that I never learned it, and I could have learned it. Thank you, Dad. But I never did. Did you ever learn your dad's native language?
No, because here's the crazy thing. He came to America when he was 17, and he immediately just hit the ground running, like in high school. And so he knew a little bit of English from Burma being a former British colony, right?
Right.
So he knew English to a certain extent, but he really didn't know it like fluently or anything. So he had to kind of get up to speed on English, and then while at the same time trying to get into college and then trying to get into med school. And so the guy was and he had no Burmese people to talk to, So he can understand Cantonese and Burmese, but he really can't speak it, which is interesting.
Huh, even at
So-
17.
He was 17 at the time.
That's
so he
rare.
just lost the language.
He just completely,
because he was just so focused on.
disassociated, yeah.
He just did.
and you're not using it at all.
Yeah, which is crazy to me to think about.
That
What
is.
that says about, like, I don't know. Like, I guess the way that, Bora Bora was talking about how it changes your personality and the way your mind thinks and stuff. Like, where is that version of my dad, Where is the 17 and younger version of himself in his brain?
if he went back
you know?
there and lived there for a bit, a lot of it would start coming back.
Right,
A
yeah.
lot of it. He'd be like, I know what that is.
Yeah, maybe it would just, like revive that
He has
version
to
of
have
himself.
a thick accent, though, come here at 17.
Yeah, he does. It's not thick. I mean, but I used to make
You're
fun of him a
used
lot.
to it, though.
Yeah.
Anybody I know that's come here.
No, he's not like a Korean sort of like one of those. Because I said he did know some English, but he just like there's sort of I used to make fun of him a lot because he would say like, "Can I get 3 French fry and 1 hamburgers?" I just always think that was funny. I imagine just getting exactly 3 French fry. Or like 1, I don't even know. It was just always funny to me as a kid.
That is funny.
But, I mean, you can make fun of your dad, but no one else can.
Yeah. It is funny how people just will make fun of their own parents and different ethnicities within their family.
Yeah.
But if anybody else did, they're just like, what are you doing? It's like,
Right.
But you did it.
Well, because then you're racist.
Yeah.
It's like, no one else can make fun of my dad except me. But,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, yeah, my grandma tried to teach me, but I mean, Chinese is like Mandarin or Cantonese. It's so crazy. It's so
It's a
different.
whole nother world.
I mean, even writing it, it's like, so many characters for every single word. And like, yeah. And then it's tonal. So like the same word can mean so many different things depending on how you say it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
really that's hard. My theory as to why they have such good hearing recognition, some pitch recognition, is having a tonal language.
Yeah.
It's very, you have an acute listening to do that,
Yeah, so that's why you have quarter notes instead of whereas we have 12 notes in our scale, like Chinese scale is 24
Yeah.
because they have
They
half
go between
in between, yeah.
Wow.
Which for us it might sound kind of weird when you hear those and you're like, oh, that's vibrato, but no, it's actually for them. It's like you're hitting like 2 notes.
Yeah.
It's specifically, it's not just like, oh, I wiggle my finger, like kind of in Western music,
Yeah.
It's like
Is that why a lot of their instruments, besides like a classic guitar, don't have frets?
Yeah, I think probably.
It's got to be.
It's also kind of classist. I feel like the guitar is like, it's like the layman's version of the violin or
cello
or whatever.
Cello, violin,
it's like
viola combo.
Yeah, it's the like learner's version almost.
Yeah.
It's like you can just fret wherever.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like a true violinist, viola player, cellist, upright bass player, like their pitch recognition is insane. Their ability to just you have to know finger placement and how pitch works. It's wild. It's really hard to do when you're used to frets.
I'm sure.
It's weird.
Yeah. My first experience with that was playing bass with my friends at bluegrass jams, and I'd just be like, I don't know, is this right? Nope, a little higher.
So you play upright bass?
I mean, I did those jams. That was like my first experience jamming with people. Really,
So you just hopped on
drums
it with no experience?
My friend was like, "Here you go. This is the 1. This is the 5. You go back and forth between these 2, and then you go up to here sometimes."
You're like, what?
Dunk, dunk, dunk.
Oh yeah, it's bluegrass.
Dunk, 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 dunk. Reverse that. But I mean,
and no one even really wants to hear you. You just need to be felt.
Yeah, right.
Like nobody cares.
It's
about
not
the
a big
bluegrass
deal if
player.
you're hitting off, but like it was like it was my first experience with stringed instruments was doing that, and
that's cool.
That's when I realized like my fingers are just baby fingers.
Yeah,
I need to build the calluses.
I would love to learn cello so bad,
dude. Right? Spanish
and cello, bucket list.
Yeah, just move to Europe and be like, my name is Benjamin.
Benjamin Jose Arguelles. I'm gonna move to Spain, Madrid. I'm gonna move to Arguelles, Spain. It's actually a city next to Madrid. My last name. Yeah. Found that out. I was reading a Langston Hughes book, a poetry book in college, and he's just like, it was during World War II, right before it. And he was talking about traveling Spain. And he's like, yeah, and then we went to Arguelles, Spain. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
That's my last name. And I was like, huh. And apparently royalty, so maybe I should go back and claim my throne.
Is that how you prefer people to pronounce it?
I don't know. Like, that's how it's pronounced, but it's like I'm so used to saying Arguelles when I was a kid to not confuse people in class.
Yeah.
And then you get used to it. Then it's high school. Then the coaches, Arguelles. You're like, so then it's just what it is. But then I've heard every version of that, but I don't know. I try to keep it to be authentic and to what it is and say Arguelles.
Right. I think I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I kind of just hate that my name is Chris. It's so boring.
Chris Lee.
Yeah. I mean, I always introduce myself as Chris Lee because then at least it's like I'm not just.
Wait, your name's Chris Lee?
Yeah.
What's your last name? Chris Lee what? Have you ever gotten that before?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Really?
Definitely. Or Grizzly? Or Christy?
Wait,
Christine?
This is my friend Grizzly over here.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way he
That's
looks,
right, baby. I earned that nickname.
You look like a grizzly. Have you ever been, besides getting sucker punched over there, have you ever been in a fight?
I used to get in fights all the time when I'm like was a kid. I think because I was short, you know, you want to when you're just like a kid, you know, you want to
You get picked
scrap it
on.
up. Yeah, you get picked on. And you want to stand up for yourself. You know.
That
No,
scar?
well, yes. I mean, it's from fighting with my brother. Yes.
That one really.
I'm surprised you noticed that. A lot of people don't even. And I'm
I
like,
see it. It's right above your left eye.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, my brother and I used to mess each other up a lot. Like my dad used to have to pop my arm back into its socket because it would get dislocated a lot.
Oh, do you feel that now to this day?
No, actually. No.
That's good. I've heard when people have had that, it affects them when they're older.
Yeah.
So it's good that it doesn't.
No, yeah, my dad would just hold me down and just right back into the socket.
He knew what he was doing, you know?
Exactly, he's a doctor. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I used to get in fights like all the time.
Did you?
I didn't always
instigate them? Did you want to be in fights?
I mean, I just hated being made fun of. I hated being made fun of being short, for being Asian, for being who I am, and I resented all these stupid white kids. They were always, you know, just so snotty and fucking hated them. And I still hold a lot of resentment against all those people to this day. I just don't physically fight them, you know.
Yeah. Do you still ever have issues with that? Even at
I mean, 33? I hate bro culture. I hate entitled frat bro type people. I hate generally masculinity in America, you know, as it is. I think I just hate like, you know, like when I used to live in college town, you walk down the main like street on like a Saturday night, like, and I'd play shows, you know, just trying to load my drums in. It's just like you just run into all these stupid dudes who just being like taking up space, you know, and just drunk and oblivious, and you know, and like I don't know. I just sometimes just want to like wipe these people from like give them a chance to experience what life would be like anywhere else. Like kind of what Bora Bora was talking about, like be a white man in Mexico for like 3 months. You know, it's sort of like the same idea as like everyone should work in food service for a while. Yeah. Every person should be a minority somewhere for a while. I definitely agree with that. And I think that, you know, when you just feel so entitled because you've just never known a universe where you're not the dominant main thing, like, you know, like I think that that could reset maybe some of your perspective. And
people do need that. I need that. I mean, I need to go. I want to travel more around the world to experience
you've been talking
that.
about you've been traveling a lot, so I don't know.
Around the country.
Oh, okay.
I road trip a lot. I mean, I'm driving to New York next Friday.
But even that lets you see like places outside of.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very experienced. I've driven across this whole country. That'll be at now, I think 13,000 miles I've driven over the pandemic on road trips.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All like the southern tip of Florida, the western part all the way to Utah, Texas, New York, Tennessee, like just all over the place.
Yeah.
And in my Honda Civic, I like road trips a lot. I like seeing the world physically for how it changes, you know, with the grasslands into the rolling plains and the mountains.
Yeah,
I just love the way it looks. And then I love seeing people and seeing what this country is really about, seeing the crazy, weird Trump signs. And not that I want to, but I need to understand what is going on.
Right.
How many people out there think differently than I do? You know, I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to sit there behind my phone on Twitter and just assume I know what people's lives are like, what it's like to go into those small towns where it's all people have ever known, and to talk to them. And I know that I'm lucky to be a white man to do that. Not like a black woman couldn't do that. A black man can't just go into some tiny town in Alabama.
Well, you're certainly not going to be able to strike up a conversation the way that
I could.
You know, where you just
I go into a store, no one says anything to me. The worst I'll get is they know I'm dressed kind of funny.
Right, yeah.
That boy looks like he's from a big city. By the way, the colors, the fashion, that's the worst I'll get, and I don't even care. But I won't get racist looks or sexist looks, that's for sure, or backhanded things, you know.
Yeah.
Baltimore I went to. Yeah, I don't know, all over the place. I like it. I like traveling around the country.
Okay, so here's a question that I also love road trips, but I hate cars and what they're doing to the planet. So, as a person who seems like, you know, environmentally aware, how do you square that circle? How do you feel about that? I mean, how do you rationalize that?
I like traveling. I could either fly, which probably is worse.
Way worse. Environmentally.
Or I could drive a pretty eco-friendly new Honda Civic. I would love to have a car that runs on.
So in your mind, it's just like not traveling is just not an option.
Yeah, no, I have to travel.
Okay,
I got to
okay.
see the world. I'm going to travel.
Okay.
Maybe I can try to do something better for this world to counteract it. I don't know.
Do you feel like I mean, isn't that okay? I mean, if you don't have any kids though, so I
No.
don't have any kids either, so I
No.
don't really give a fuck what happens to the planet afterwards. I mean, I feel bad for my niece.
Do you
like,
want to have kids?
No, God, no. I feel really bad for my niece because she's born in the two nieces, I should say, because they're born into a world that's like totally messed up. I feel bad, I guess, for every child that's going to be born in a world that's messed up. And I still love driving; it's fun. I don't own a car, but every time I get behind a wheel and get to go travel on in some way, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Me gusta. But I don't know. I do still feel like this voice in the back of my head. It's like you're killing the planet, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
the thing is with that is where do you stop? Like, where is this plastic? Where are all these items going? Where's the AC?
Hey, this is all made 20 years ago, okay?
But you know what I'm saying? Like the AC we're using right now.
Yeah.
Like the natural gas for
Yeah,
your
but
stove.
I mean, at a certain point, there's things you need versus there's things where you just like want them.
We don't need AC. We know that.
Yeah, normally actually I don't have this on because my roommate is not here. But I thought maybe it would be nicer for you.
It is actually because I would be sweating profusely. There's a
I
lot of
normally
things.
keep it like 78 in here.
We don't even need light bulbs. You can use candles.
Well, environmentally though, candles are they much better than LEDs? Because LEDs are super energy
They are,
efficient.
but the components to make
Trust me,
them.
like, I went to school for alternative energy. I've thought about these
the
things
components
a lot.
for them. This is where this is coming from. How is beer made? Is there anything that a byproduct of making beer in a brewery?
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: wheat fields. I mean, it takes almost no energy to produce wheat. Mm-hmm. So think about that. I've seen this picture of the land use for various crops, and wheat is pretty small.
Yeah.
Compared to like corn. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, most corn gets fed to animals, and I know you've talked to other guests about meat consumption and stuff.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to cut down. I was
Definitely.
vegetarian for many, many years. And I'm mostly vegetarian now. I only eat meat essentially in situations where it would be dickish of me to be like, guys, can everybody be inconvenienced?
Yeah, if we're ordering pizza and everyone's like, we're getting pepper, I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
I
right,
guess I'm
right.
eating pepperoni.
I wouldn't want to be like the guy who's like, can we get a
No.
half?
No, I don't do that. I
Mushrooms?
know too many people that do that. I'm like,
Yeah,
and the thing
I
is, they're
know.
not even vegetarian or vegan. They just like don't want it. You're like, now you're making it really hard.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's where I basically draw the line. I used to be like absolutely, like, I'll eat no pizza, and
Yeah. No, there's so many like because you can argue, what do we do in this mega metropolis with all this pollution? If
But
you know,
now city living is much more ecologically sound because then everything is very concentrated. Like you think about like suburbs, absolute fucking horrible waste because the land is neither urban enough to be served by like public transport,
Yeah.
nor rural enough to be farmland.
Yeah.
So it's just all lawns. It's
Yeah.
just a giant waste of lawns and concrete.
what are you trying to say?
I
being
hate to
called
be
out.
I hate to be confrontational. Because my belief always has been you can be vegetarian, just do it quietly. But you've been talking about road tripping with all these people, and I feel like I have to be the guy that at least asks you a question about
Yeah.
it. Because
If it helps, I don't drive a lot, except for when I road trip.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. When
This
I
is true. I mean, you're entirely self-contained in your little pod there,
Yeah.
your little music pod.
exactly. So when I do go out, I go a little hard in the paint.
I guess that makes up for like not being one of those people that like commutes like an hour and a half every day. Or
yeah,
whatever,
no. So it's very
Go hard in the paint. Also, just
earlier when you said dicking around. I was like, I have never heard anybody say that, but my friends. Where did you get that from? Because I say it too, but no, I don't know anyone who say
Who
it.
knows? Language just seeps in.
I just love it because that's one of my favorite things to say. I'm just dicking around.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, no, I think about all of that. It's like, I would love to have a battery operated car someday, like a Tesla. But then I'm like, wait a minute. How are we getting those batteries? And where are they coming from? How are we mining that?
Yeah.
It's very tricky.
Yeah, the cost of a new car. This is the thing that I, when I was going to school for this, I used to go door to door for Environment Ohio, pushing for a renewable energy mandate so it'd be 25% of Ohio's electricity by 2025. This is back in 2007. And every time I would talk to people, they'd just be like, well, I'm concerned about the environment, but like we'll eventually solve it with like technology and like, it's whatever. And like that was like so many people just thought we'd just find a magic bullet. And then like Tesla seems to be like now the manifestation of that, but it's like a luxury vehicle. It's like $30,000 at the very least. It's packed full of all these features. Like I want an electric car. It's just like a dune buggy. It's like
Yeah.
you know, with like a couple of golf cart batteries strapped in the back.
Yeah.
You know, because then it's like then it's actually ecologically efficient. You know. I mean, but like people like their comfort foods. They want to believe that they don't have to change anything about the way they live. And that nothing has to change at all fundamentally, and the world will just magically fix itself. And it's like, no, I mean, like, we've had, you know, insane heat waves like this year, and it's only going to get worse in the future. And I'm not here to shame anybody for the way they live, because that doesn't fix anything. It doesn't change anybody's behavior.
Yeah.
And that's why
sometimes it just pushes them further to be more mad at you, you know?
Right.
No, you bring up good points. I think about those things all the time. I'm like, man, I would love to not have to buy gasoline.
Yeah, right.
And burn it, you know? And I know cars have gotten better at it, but it's still a problem. And I would love to have solar power panels and not pay ComEd and get electronic stove and hot water heater, so I don't have to pay Nightcore for gas.
Right, yeah.
And then just get my power from the solar power panels.
Yeah,
you know? But it's a lot of money to do all that. I would do it if it wasn't $30,000 to do it.
Right, yeah, I know.
You know?
And this is exactly what I thought, like, okay, we're going to do this 10 years ago. This is what my mind was like, yeah, this is obviously the future. We're going to do this. But, you know, the grip of fossil fuel companies has been, you know,
it's hard.
Unbreakable. And they have bought every politician up and down the line.
Yeah.
And I don't blame people for going along with what's the most economically logical thing for them to do. But it's all come at the cost of, like, you know, just the world we live in.
It starts with people, though. If you get enough people doing it, like,
maybe. I mean, I think it's, you know, yeah, I mean, it does start with people in a certain sense, but it's sort of like saying, like, oh, yeah, well, you know, like, everything would be better if everyone thought like me. You know? It's
yeah.
It's like, there's so many economic factors in the way that people make the decisions that they do in their lives, and, like, I've based my entire life basically around, like, not having a car and trying to, like, just live, like, the least carbon, I don't know, producing life that I can, because I just, like, you know, that's what has kept me up late at night, was the thinking, like, oh, like the whole thing's collapsing. This whole thing is. That's why it's almost kind of hard for me to believe that I've even ever cared about, like, music, but except for the fact that it's, like, emotionally and, like, spiritually very significant to me. Mm-hmm. You know, because like it's sort of like you know, like the story of the Titanic. They always talk about how, like, the guys went down playing music. You know, it's like they didn't give them the lifeboats. They just kept playing, and I feel like that's me. I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's going down, but, like, man, this song's gonna be a banger. You know, like,
that's really funny. That's interesting. I could see your sense of, oh wow,
all right,
of community stretching from, you know, a few people in a place to DIY shows and venues to expressing music and spreading it on the internet, and then also to, like, the world of being concerned about the carbon footprint.
Yeah, I mean,
you bring up good points. I mean, I don't even have, like, the best answers, because it's like,
well, no,
you know,
I don't expect you to.
Yeah,
no, I don't. You know, like,
yeah,
I'm an aberration. I realize, like, I don't expect everyone to live like me. You know, that's not practical. Mm-hmm. And so I just always wonder, though, if people think about it.
I think about it all the time. Actually, it's funny you say that. I do that. I've thought about, like, how do I get ComEd and Nightcore out of my life? I was even thinking, like, how do I engineer a pond in my backyard and create this, like, infinite loop of catching rainwater, which I don't even know if it's legal, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because screw it.
Come at me, cops.
I pay property taxes. I'm gonna collect the water that falls on my property.
Yeah.
And clean it and have it go into a pond and use that to build, like, my own dam and have, like, a windmill turning the water to create a turbine.
God, that's next level thinking. Oh yeah.
But, like, I've thought about, like, and I always say, like, when I have enough money one day, hopefully in my 30s, late 30s probably, I want to do that. I want to have land and do that, and be self-sufficient, be off the grid, and not connect to anything, and have a low carbon footprint, have a greenhouse, have a garden, have a compost, you know, use recycled paper products, and steer away from things that can't be recycled. Like, everything I can, you know. I'm obsessed. I've always been recycling, and I think about it. I know where I have to draw the line. If I live in the suburbs, I have to drive to work or the store. I can't walk down the street to it, you know?
Yeah, so I feel like everyone has to make their decision. I sort of feel like whether they're going to be rural or urban. I feel like, because the suburbs are basically not going to be possible probably in like 40 years, I'd say.
You think
I
so?
think, maybe they'll keep going, but like, it just probably shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist now, really, I think. But
as long as there's cars that could drive to and from,
it's just.
So we have the Pace bus, but it stays on one road. It stays on 88th
I've
Avenue.
taken the Pace bus.
It's fun.
It just reminds me like, this is what public transportation is like in the age of cars. But like, I don't know. I feel like either going to be like, I'm going to grow everything and have my solar panels, or like I'm going into the core of civilization so I can just like ride the bus and have everything from out there shipped in here.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to pick one or the other. I'm like sort of straddling in a weird zone where I have a garden that's one empty city plot somehow.
Yeah.
That I have. But
how is that? Is that just...
I don't have to buy. I personally don't have to buy any groceries aside from onions and garlic. And
how's
oil.
it? Is that an empty lot? That's just...
Oh yeah, it's just empty.
Just free game?
Yeah, I could make it bigger if I had more time, but I don't. I certainly supply myself with enough food to eat for at least the summer.
That's awesome.
Basically entirely off of that plot.
So are you vegetarian then, or?
Yeah, like I said, mostly.
Mostly?
Yeah.
Just once in a while when it comes up, you'll eat meat?
Yeah, it's just like it's like almost like vegan, but not. It's like reverse. I don't know.
Yeah.
When socially it is an inconvenience because it's like I just like, especially like I have this tamalero that lives, but he sells on the corner, and I really love to support his business, and he doesn't always have vegetarian tamales, but I still want to support him because he's a hardworking guy. He's out there in the blazing hot sun or in the freezing cold. And, tamales are an amazing thing to eat while you're at work and for lunch. And so I support them. Mm-hmm. That's one exception I've carved out. And I used to be vegan, but I used to think about like how, I'm not eating eggs produced here in like next door. And instead I'm eating like quinoa that's like grown in Bolivia. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like ecologically speaking, like, you just have to take in the whole context of everything that's happening around you, like what makes the most sense instead of living by sort of strict guidelines, because otherwise you're going to end up being kind of a weird religious guy who's then like yelling at people about them eating eggs or something, about how that cookie has pollen in it. That's made by bees. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. I'm trying to get more vegetarian, vegan, and not be preachy. Just if someone asks, give my 2 cents, but have a better understanding about it. Find different ways to get protein that are better for me, better for the environment. It's incremental steps. A lot of damage was done being born in 1989,
right,
in Chicago, and having parents like mine, where it was like meat's part of everything. You utilize all this energy, the natural gas, the water. You drive, like you all of it. It's just like put on you, and they never told me anything otherwise. And now I'm finally like self-taught and listening to people like yourself or other people who have experiences and like learn, like, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
But once again, really is all like people talk about how like greenhouse gases didn't go down during the pandemic, even though no one was driving really. Like it was much less very reduced consumption of like a lot of things, and we still had the same greenhouse gases. So it's not really up to individuals to like solve the problem. It's just something to, I guess, if you want to think about it, future post fossil fuels. If you want to reduce fossil fuels, you have to kind of imagine how life can be different. Like, so I'm not here to like just be like, you're fucking the planet up because you eat a chicken McNugget.
A chicken McNugget. I think this is a good note to end on.
Okay.
But is there anything you want to say or plug or talk about before we go?
There's a new album by Electric Sheep. It's a band that I've been recording. It should be dropping in the next couple of months, which I guess would be fall of 2021 if you're listening in the future. So maybe it's already out. But yeah, I'm really excited about this album because I've been recording it over the course of a year and a half.
Whoa.
It's like the only recording thing I was doing during the pandemic because it's like one artist and me. So he was doing all the string stuff and I was doing the keys and the drums,
That's cool.
And I'm just, it feels like the best sounding thing that I've ever done, which I know is like kind of a common thing when you work on stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah,
Electric
really
Sheep. Do you have a name for the record or anything? Or that's not
yes, it's called Gap Year.
Ah, nice. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love it.
But thanks so much for having me on too. I just really appreciate you. I'm surprised you asked me because I feel like you're so much more of I'm like DZ Fest is like a thing. It's like a legendary, totem of the DIY scene, and I'm just a schmuck.
No, not at all.
Who's
I don't think that at all.
fallen far from his heights on the cover of the Chicago Reader. So I appreciate you giving me a comeback special.
He's a comedian too. No, I don't think that at all about you. I don't think about anybody, and I don't know what DZ Fest is, but it's something. And thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me here. And I can't wait for shows to come back here. Do you have any plans for that, or?
Oh yeah. I'm waiting because right now, Delta variant.
I know.
I don't want to announce anything prematurely, but
I know
we technically should have something in August.
Awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to come and see it. I can't wait to hear the Electric Sheep
better
record.
come.
I will. I will. I seriously want to.
All right, man.
And hopefully, I'm in bands. I could perform at some point.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, whenever there's a show, let me know.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
Bands. Let's do it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. And I appreciate all the things you've done for Chicago and the DIY scene for 8 years for DIY Chicago, which is a hard task. It's a lot to try to mitigate 22,000 people with their own thoughts and lives and opinions.
Yeah.
And you do the best you can. I appreciate it. So thank you for that, and keep doing this thing because I'm with you on it, and I completely get it in every way. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully I'm reinvigorated enough post-pandemic to do all of those things.
Yeah, and we'll do this again sometime. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So
right on.
We'll do it again sometime. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Take care.
I'm good.